ABC Listen.
It's hard not to love Bluey. Whatever your age, it's the biggest little show on earth.
Yeah!
But have you ever wondered what goes into making an episode? Well, there's a new podcast called Behind Bluey that takes you right behind the scenes. Each week you'll hear from the show's creator, Joe Brum, and his creative team, explaining exactly how all the magic is made. The new podcast, Behind Bluey, only on the ABC Listen app.
ABC Sport.
We begin this broadcast by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which this match will be played today and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. We extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples listening.
One state.
And they will come from everywhere.
4 days.
This will be special.
9 matches.
You just cannot take your ears off this game.
And all 18 clubs for a round of football like we've never seen before.
We're going to put on one hell of a show.
Snaps across the body and the party continues.
This is AFL Gather Round, live from South Australia. This is Gather Round.
The celebrations as they come from everywhere.
Grandstand AFL.
100% pure footy.
Perkins at the hand pass to Stringer. He's going to go the barrel. Don't tell me.
Cause here it comes, here it comes. Cartmark follows up. Spinburn sells the dummy for an early goal of the year. 55 out. He's given this plenty. That's a magnificent strike of the football.
AFL Gather Round.
Something big is coming. Something big is coming. He stops, clocks, fires and goals. Something big is coming. Something big is coming. What a piece of individual class. Something big is coming. Biggest moment of his life. 55 loads up all the way home. Fill your lungs. Are you ready for it? High altitude flight from Shable.
All the tricks on display.
AFL.
Two-step back.
This kid is going places.
Puts the Jets on and kicks it on the run. Boy, does he love it.
He launches an absolute rocket.
Oh, the home fans like that. From 50, he goes whack.
One bounce at 40, one bounce at 20, and he goes.
Loads up with that right foot cannon on the right boot. Floats it through.
Their season's well and truly alive.
This is AFL Gather Round on radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Something big is coming. I know. On a 9-bout program, the main event arrives. An unbeaten St Kilda face the free-scoring Collingwood at the Adelaide Oval. Two sides with very different modus operandis. Collingwood, second best in the league in attack and inside 50. St Kilda, miserly in defence. They're the best in the land at it. Which style will prevail? We'll find out a little bit later this afternoon. Fantastic to have you with us at Adelaide Oval as Gather Round reaches its climax. The Saints and the Pies. The Magpies have already been dealt a blow. Jordan De Goey out of the side due to illness. Will Hoskin-Elliott, who was originally managed out of this game due to a virus himself, comes back in. Collingwood named Tom Wilson as their sub. No late changes for the Saints. Jack Vitale is their substitute. Clint Wilden with you in commentary. Ben Cameron is alongside me. Ben, I reckon I've waited about 3 weeks for this one. Can't just control the excitement as the Saints take on the Pies.
Yeah, we're going to wrap up, put a bow on Gather Round and wrap it all up, aren't we, Clint? It's great to see you again and call with you once again and be back with Mick Malthouse and his champion premiership player in Luke Ball. What I'm really looking forward to in this game is I feel like you can sum it up as this. You've got the irresistible force of Collingwood against the immovable object of St Kilda. They defend really well. No one does strangulation like St Kilda and Ross Lyon, and no one freewheels quite like Collingwood. So I'm really looking forward to that. I can't wait for it to get underway.
These are sides with some storied history in matches between them. Of course, the famous 1966 Premiership, Barry Breen's wobbly kick that went through for a behind to see St Kilda prevail over Collingwood by a point. And then, of course, there's the replay, the grand final of 2010. And delighted to have two men with a foot in both camps, and they were both involved in that victory for Collingwood over St Kilda in 2010. Mick Malthouse, 53 games as a Saint, let us not forget, before going on to coach Collingwood to that premiership victory. And Luke Ball, 142 games as a Saint before moving across to the Magpies and winning a premiership in 2020. Welcome to both of you. This is a huge game. You couldn't think of a better way to finish what has been a fantastic round. Mick, firstly to you, how excited are you?
How are you, Clint? I am. Look, I think I'll paint the picture for people who will watch on TV but only just watch from the ground point of view. Left the hotel, walked through town. There's so many people walking there with different colours. Now, we've said it all weekend, so I think they know that. But then right next to the river is an area being locked away for children, teenagers to play football, have a hand pass, all football stuff. And there's so many kids there that are just absolutely wrapped in what they're seeing. And then they walk around the oval, and then you get the people that come in and want to watch the game. And as you said, what a game to top off the whole lot together, to see the two top sides who, and we just don't know, with De Goey out, and there's a hint that there's a couple of others that are a little bit ill, we don't know about the Saints. We keep, they're on top. We don't know. About the Pies, we do know. We know that they are a side that are setting a new trend, and I'm just looking forward to seeing how they balance up against each other.
They might have another little issue too, the Magpies. I understand from having a chat to a couple of them at breakfast that their hotel, there were all sorts of sirens, police sirens, ambulances outside their hotel last night. So an interrupted sleep for the Collingwood Football Club, and now an interrupted preparation with Jordan De Goey going out of the side. Luke Ball, this could be a blockbuster. How are you?
Good, Clint. Yeah, great to be here again, and nicely hyped by both of you there in the build-up. I think it is a fitting end to this, to what's been a wonderful round. I've been here since Thursday, and gosh, it feels like 2 weeks ago since we sat and watched Adelaide dismantle Carlton, doesn't it? But that was a great start to the round for the local teams. Of course, Port doing the job last night as well, and yeah, let's hope. And finally, the sun's out. The rain threatened to dampen proceedings, but sun's out today. Ground looks a picture, and yeah, you're right. I think the Saints clearly have, or the plan is to build their game on defence. We know about that. They get a really good challenge tonight. I think they've been terrific in the first 4 weeks, but looking back over those games, they had a pretty ordinary Fremantle team who didn't really test them at all in terms of a team defence point of view in that first game. They had the Bombers who were okay, and the Bombers drew level halfway through that last quarter, but the Saints were able to put the foot down again, and they're a pretty ordinary Gold Coast team last week. So they get a really good test today on a neutral field. So, I think perhaps if this game was at the MCG, the Pies would be more heavily favoured, but we get a nice neutral field. De Goey goes out. That's another challenge for this Pies team. I think what they've shown over the last 12, 18 months is that it doesn't matter who's under the jumper, they play a certain way, and there's an expectation they play a certain way under Craig McRae. So, yeah, really looking forward to the game. I think also with St Kilda, what they've probably surprised us with over the first 4 weeks is, so they're building their game on defence. We know that. It's been really hard to play against, but they've actually started to add some attacking flair, and they are taking the game on a bit more. They're fit, they're healthy at the moment, and they're starting to look a bit more dangerous. They've had to find different ways to do it. We know that Max King's out, and Memory's been out, so they've had to find different ways. That we've seen the emergence of young Owens, and Caminiti's shown us a bit, and Jack Higgins and Dan Butler look like they've got a new lease of life under the new coaching staff as well. So all goes well for a really good contest this afternoon.
I actually think the way St Kilda are playing at the moment, Clint and I were both in Perth at this time, they're not totally dissimilar to Fremantle, how they looked in 2015. Fremantle at that point in time would fold right up their half forwards and their forward pockets and whatnot. Essentially their front six would get right up the ground. And then Ross Lyon, Mick and Borley would pull his massive slingshot, and they would fire down the other end of the ground with relatively quick ball movement. And they were running up scores on teams in 2015. They won their opening 9 games of the season. And just by the naked eye, it doesn't look totally dissimilar to what we're seeing from St Kilda at the moment.
Well, I'll take your word for it there, Ben. As a Perth boy, you would have been watching them closely. But I think that sounds right. And really what they're doing is playing to their strengths. So I've had the last 3 Saturday nights and watched them closely, the Saints. And what they're starting to build in terms of a brand is what they're doing well. They're a really hard running team, so they're fit. So, Ross and the coaching staff would have come in and said, right, what have we got at our disposal? So potentially, or maybe on paper, we don't have as many A-pluses, A superstar players. But what do we have? Well, we've got elite runners. We've got Brad Hill on one wing, Mason Wood on the other wing, who we know is an elite runner, and so Jack Sinclair.
They got 10 who run sub 10-minute 3K time trials.
Okay, so let's as a starting point, let's start there, and let's make sure that we're high and playing to our strengths. So, and the last 3 weeks they've done that. They've just run, and when the game got tight, they put the foot down with run, and they just ran the opposition into the ground, and it's a good starting point. If you can run, and then if you can defend and pressure, that would have been the starting point for Ross. And then we can work on the offensive part of our game. And I think even that surprised him how, and we mentioned some of those players that he found both individually, but how they've been able to transition the ball, as you said, and that style of play that you're talking about, Ben, very much suits Dan Butler, very much suits Jack Higgins and a Mitch Owens, who's coming to his own in this first 4 weeks.
And that's one of the things that I remember of 2015 is Hayden Ballantyne was thriving. In those opening 9 games, they kicked 5 scores over 100. That's not what we think of when we think of Ross Lyon teams, but it wasn't dissimilar to what we're seeing at the moment. I'm seeing a lot of similarities.
Yep.
Before we go on, Mick, a bit of breaking news. It had been rumoured before, but appears to be true now. It'll be confirmed in about 29 minutes' time. Press conference with the South Australian Premier about to take place outside, but you'll have gather round here in South Australia until 2026. So absolutely locked in and confirmed.
And they deserve it.
I thought
after this weekend, there's no doubt.
I thought it was a tremendous job what they've done here. I will say this. I'm envious of them. I would love this round, having experienced it once. I would love everyone back home in WA for me to experience this as well. It was spectacular.
But that's good though. That's what makes you hungry, and hopefully it makes the states hungry now to say, well, we are envious, and we're envious because it's worked so well. I categorically tell you now, this is not a Victorian thing. I don't know whether it can be a Sydney thing. I'm pretty convinced it won't be a Queensland thing. It's got to be South Australia. It's got to be Western Australia. And the Western Australian thing bothers me for one reason, is the cost that's going to get people to get over there. Unless you drive home, that's going to be, or train over, that's expensive. To fly over, once you get the second, third and fourth person that putting their hand up to fly, the prices go up.
What about us, Mick? Next year we'll get to go back to Hahndorf and probably add the Barossa as well.
Well, I can hope you put me onto a different breakfast than the one that we had, because fair dinkum, I've still got those 2 great sausages you forced me to eat. And you had all that cabbage, and that's a worry. So, yes, we can go back to Hahndorf. I liked Hahndorf, but we'll go to a different place this time. But it's fantastic up there. I loved it.
I reckon there's a podcast in it. I know there's Corbin and Ben, but we could have Ben and Mick. Yeah. Just get you together, going out touring, going to wineries.
I do that every day of the week.
Just record your chats. I'd love to have a listen to your chats in the car.
We covered some ground yesterday, didn't we, Mick? We had coaching philosophies. We had players in the 90s. We had trading and draft pick philosophies. Well, it was all in there.
Well, we did have a lot of coverage, mate, because you got lost 3 times. So I mean, yes, we did. We had a lot of time to talk about Benny. No, it was a pleasure. And if there was something there that was said, go somewhere and discuss about the cities, the little towns, and the what they got to offer. I'm in it.
Half time, by the way, it'll start very shortly across at Norwood Oval, and what a spectacular venue that has been in gather round. GWS leading the Hawks by 8 points, 5-7-37 to Hawthorn 4-5-29. The Saints make their way out onto the ground. As good a time as any to hear from the St Kilda camp, and a short time ago Ben Cameron was good enough to wander downstairs and he had a chat with one of their assistant coaches.
Thanks, Clint. I'm down here with Corey Enright. We've got a game going on right in front of us at the moment. How have you found gather round so far?
Yeah, it's been really good, hasn't it? We're really excited about the concept, and it's we're obviously the last game of the round, and we've been able to sort of enjoy some of it, but obviously focus on what we need to do today. So no, it's been really exciting. I think it's been a great concept.
Mitch Owens, he surprised some people, I'm sure not you internally. What have you seen from last week's Rising Star? Not just last week, but throughout the pre-season and into this year.
Well, yeah, he works really hard at his game, and he has done since the day he walked through the doors. So he got some reward last week, and he's just a committed kid that wants to get better every time he comes to work. And he got rewarded last week, and he gives a tremendous amount of effort. And his attack on the ball, his contest, we're really excited about him as a player, not only this year but the years coming.
We know that Collingwood are full throttle all of the time. They go forward, they attack, and they've run up a couple of really big scores this year. How do you stop it?
Oh, well, that's the challenge, isn't it? Yeah, they play some really up-tempo football, really fast, particularly off turnover. That's their strength. We've seen them just keep going, and that's going to be us. We've got to have the concentration and the attention to go for the 4 quarters, because you can't let up against them. We know that they keep coming and right to the end, so that's been a strength of theirs over the last sort of 18 months. And we're excited about the challenge. Obviously, we know how good they are, so it's going to be exciting for the fans to see.
I'm from Perth. I've spent a lot of time around Fremantle players who were coached by Ross Lyon, and almost to a man they tell me that his greatest strength is identifying how to stop individual players. How will he do that today with Nick Dacos?
They got so many good players as well, and obviously he's had a great start to the year. But you can't just put too much focus on the one, because the rest of them will get you. So for us, it's about how do we minimise some of their damage when they do get the ball. But we understand they are going to get the footy. They're good players. So for us, it's probably more of a collective and a team focus, that we continue to focus on what we have done, in the early rounds of the season. And we're obviously building. We're only coming together as a group, so there's a lot of it's about us. Obviously, we understand the opposition and their strengths, but a lot of it's about trying to get what we want to get today.
I think what we have to say at this point is it's an exploration phase that we're going through with the Saints this year. One of the criticisms of Ross was that he often didn't put enough trust in his assistants, but he's been very vocal about yourself, Lenny Hayes, amongst others, and the work that you guys have done this year. What have you learnt from as sharp a football mind as Ross Lyon so far?
It's been very enjoyable, obviously, as an assistant coach to learn under Ross and see how he goes about it. He's obviously very effective. His communication's very strong, but I think the main thing that I've taken from his is the way he sort of sees the game, identifies the game, and then being able to sort of, simplify that, particularly for the players, and get them to, all commit to what we want to do. So, I'm thoroughly enjoying working alongside the other assistants, but also under Ross.
I do look at the way you guys are playing at the moment. I actually don't think it's dissimilar to what we saw from Fremantle in 2015 when they begun the season 9-0. It was sort of fold up, everyone works very, very hard, and then go quickly once you get it. He sort of would pull his slingshot Ross with that. One of my concerns is the amount of load that puts on a playing group throughout a long season. Why are you guys confident that this group can maintain that high physical toll of the running that it takes to execute that game plan throughout the season?
Yeah, well, the AFL, the games are so quick at the moment that the ability for players all across the competition to continue to run and work hard, and we understand that's probably the game and where it's at a little bit at the moment, just that fast transition from defence into offence, back into defence. So we feel like we've got the capabilities within the group to be able to play that style, and we understand that it's a long season and teams are going to have their momentum, but for us it's just about continually building every week. Every time we go together as a group, it's just trying to improve on what we want to be and what we want to become.
Does the absence of Jordan De Goey change anything for you guys today, and if so, what?
Yeah, well, obviously he's a quality player, but no, not so much for us. I spoke about it earlier. We're sort of probably more focused on us as a team versus them as a team rather than individuals. So they just bring someone else in that plays that role for them, and they've got so many players that play through the middle of the ground, and they can throw different things at you. So for us, we're just excited about the challenge that lays ahead.
How close was Tim Membry?
He was obviously he was coming with a rush, and he trained really strongly this week, and he obviously put his hand up for selection, and we chose to play him in the VFL this week. and we'll have a discussion around it next week. But obviously for us, we are starting to get a few of our players probably get back to the next couple of weeks, so which is always a nice problem to have.
And just lastly, you've still got it. There's a few Cats fans nearby. You were signing autographs before this interview.
Well, it's probably the easiest one to get because the Cats are out on the ground at the moment. So, no, as I mentioned before, it's just great to see, obviously, a double header and see so many different jumpers in the crowd. It's just been a fantastic spectacle, and the weather's holding off for us today. So we look forward to putting on a good show.
He was a pretty young fella as well. I reckon Dad must have told him, look, that was a pretty good half back in the day. Good to speak to you pre-game, Joel.
No worries, thank you.
Bit of news to confirm here at Adelaide Oval. Let's head down and have a listen to the PA.
Footy fans, would you please make welcome the Premier of South Australia, Peter Malinauskas, and AFL CEO Gillan McLachlan to make a special announcement.
Just very brief, we've got a very important game going on. I just want to thank all South Australians, all football supporters who've travelled. Thank you all for making the inaugural gather round such a huge success. I want to thank our clubs, our players, all my team, and I think Adelaide has done a hell of a job. And on that basis, I want to hand over to the Premier to make a bit of an announcement.
I want to acknowledge we're on the lands of the Kaurna people. I want to thank the AFL, particularly you, Gil, for your leadership and putting your confidence, not in me or the government, but putting your confidence in the people of South Australia to show up. And my word, you have done that. And I'm very, very pleased to announce that on the back of the success of this weekend, the AFL and the state government have reached the agreement that the gather round will be here in South Australia for the next 3 years.
Outstanding news for South Australia. Well done to their government by locking that in, and well done to the AFL for taking the punt and bringing it across to South Australia. So through until 2026, we'll gather once a season here at Adelaide Oval, and hopefully again a chance to experience some of the country grounds around the place like you did, Ben, at Mount Barker, and I was again thrilled with what happened out at Norwood Oval. Just repeating that score, by the way, out at Norwood, where the Giants are taking on the Hawks. Still half-time, about 2 minutes away from a start. GWS leading the Hawks by 8 points. There was a lovely touch when both teams came out in the middle with Nicky Winmar about to toss the coin. Remember, 30 years tomorrow at Collingwood's Victoria Park, the Hall of Famer Nicky Winmar raised his jumper after being racially abused, pointed to his chest and took a stand against racism. And the two teams came out towards the commentary wing, met together, and then after a short pause, ran through a joint banner. It was a lovely touch, and the banner itself, St Kilda colours on one side, Collingwood on the other. Together we stand united against racism and call it out. Remains as true today as it ever was, as abuse of Indigenous players just heartbreakingly continues. Call it out, stop it. If you hear it, say something about it. St Kilda warming up to the left of our broadcast position. The Magpies to the right. It is a heavyweight contest. St Kilda, they're unbeaten. This, though, will be their biggest test. Before we go downstairs for the toss of the coin, which will happen with Nicky Winmar out there, and we'll talk you through all of that. Let's get the preview. Mick Malthouse and Luke Ball. No one better to talk us through this one as the Magpies prepare to face the Saints.
It's going to be a great game. Yeah, we got to go out, and I looked through, and Jack Steele's out, and Billings, unfortunately, breaking his leg. Max King's not in the side, and who else? We got Cameron out, and by saying Cameron out, I was interested in what Bally said about the midfield. Yes, there are some really good midfielders in there. I'm just wondering the impact of Rowan Marshall. I've always rated him number one. I've not rated him number one. I've rated him as a terrific ruckman, come forward, aggressive around the ground. He is going to be tested, clearly, but he's going to test Collingwood right out here, because if he's able to, and he's a very smart ruckman, so if he's able to push that ball where St Kilda players want it, as distinct from some ruckmen who get their hand to it and it could go anywhere, he's going to pose a lot of problems, particularly whilst he's on the ball. So you've got to look at the secondary ruckman for them. They'll get away with it. But the first and primary ruckman for Collingwood, is it McStay, is it Johnson? One thing about Rowan Marshall, he would have no hesitation in running, and I mean straight through them. If they're fair game and they're ruckman, then you are fair game. It's only only small circles, but he will do some serious, cause some serious problems for Collingwood in the centre bounce, but particularly around the ground. So outside of that, I know that there's a hint that it might be a few other players might be not that they can't play, but ill, but. The Pies, to me, are just playing. I know they got beaten by Brisbane, but we've seen now Brisbane. Brisbane can be a very, very difficult side to beat, particularly at home. Collingwood have got all the attributes. They've got a forward line, even though who's out of the side, they've got a forward line that can function. They have a back line. What I like about them is they won't go back unless they absolutely have to. So in other words, they take ground up the opposition, and you're going to make that ground up. They can get caught out over the top from time to time, and St Kilda have got the speed to do that. But by and large, they will push that ball into their forward line and they will get you to commit yourself on that back line. You make a mistake back there, they swoop.
Yeah, you mentioned the run. I think it looms, Mick. I think you're right. The line's got him, and I thought the longer the game went on, Big McInerney had a real influence last week. Because what it will mean is that the Collingwood mids will have to be more reactive around the ball, and we know that Mitchell going into the centre bounce has very much helped them improve, and Dacos going in there a bit more, and Adams being healthy this year has made them very much improve their clearance numbers, which they were number 17 last year. But without that notable ruckman, and with Marshall, who's a workhorse too, he loves staying out there. He's got a big tank, so I just think that's going to be a real challenge. What it will mean is that they'll probably be giving up field position more often than not from that centre bounce, and having to start their attacks, their forward thrust from the back half. Now, they're very good at doing that. We know Collingwood. But there's a tipping point. It's a taxing game. So that's going to be the territory battle from the clearances is going to be critical today. And that, with my Collingwood hat on, that really concerns me in terms of that ruck. Because we saw it last week. We saw the Bombers yesterday do the job in the ruck.
Which is interesting given it was Grundy.
Yeah, that's right. It was the two-prong attack. So I think it'll be McStay that gets the job, but he's up against a genuine top 3, top 4 ruckman in the comp today. So that's a real challenge.
Yeah, and physical ruckman. But I also think that there's a few. I guess at round 5 we still haven't seen holes being put into either side, and every side's got a weakness. It doesn't matter how good they are. Geelong from last year. It's how you camouflage it and how you exploit the opposition that can't then exploit you. So I suspect that with two pretty smart coaches here, this will be a great test of who's willing to hold their ground. But on the same token, if things aren't working, how quick you can move. I'm quite staggered and probably a little bit annoyed at coaches. I'm allowed to do that now. That they wait for so long before they make a change. I think if the writing's on the wall, you've got to make changes to get it right.
Saw Ken Hickley do that last night. Bontempelli was off the chain. He put Drew onto him, and it had a real impact on the outcome of the game.
This is a lovely touch downstairs. Both teams standing in an arc around the centre circles. Senior players and Indigenous players meeting in the middle to shake hands.
St Kilda legend Nicky Winmar.
They shake hands with Nicky Winmar. Winmar has the coin. It's thrown aloft. Which way has it gone? It's been won by St Kilda. It's Brad Hill who points to the left of our broadcast position, the cathedral or the scoreboard end of Adelaide Oval. Of course, it's worth mentioning too, Collingwood Football Club a little bit earlier today put out an apology saying the Collingwood Football Club acknowledges it's been 30 years since Nicky Winmar lifted his jumper to say I'm black and I'm proud after he and his teammate Gilbert McAdam were racially abused at Victoria Park. Racism is never okay. It wasn't then, it isn't now. To Nicky Winmar, to Gilbert McAdam and to their families, we say sorry. That was from the Collingwood Football Club.
Just quickly, Clint, as well, every Collingwood player went and shook the hand of Nicky Winmar before he made his way off the ground.
Yeah, it's good stuff, isn't it? It's great to see Messiah Wanganeen Miller in the number 7 jumper carrying on the tradition and so many talented Indigenous players out there today. Let's hope they thrill us, which they have been doing, we know, for so long. And just to go back to that point around the coaching, knowing Ross, I don't think he'll let Nick Dacos run around by himself. Just having a look at the St Kilda team, no one jumps out at me as a run-with player. Maybe it's Ryan Burns as someone who could sacrifice his game. He's got a big tank, has been in good form as well, so a bit to look out for there.
Which way are you tipping, Luke Ball?
Oh, gee, the goey worries me a bit, and the ruck, but I'll stick with the Pies in a close one.
Collingwood will win it.
Ben Cameron.
St Kilda, I'm worried about Pies players being a bit flat, being sick during the week.
Okay.
You're out there, you're ready to play, Benny.
Cross the white line.
That's right. I want to hear that.
I'm leaning towards
well, there you go,
Pies.
Billy Frampton's going to start in the ruck.
But this will be an absolute treat. Grandstand AFL as the teams head to their respective positions. St Kilda with the away jumper, the black cross on the front. Collingwood in their predominantly white away strip. It's our feature presentation of Gather Round. It's the Magpies against the Saints. Here's Ben Cameron to get us started.
Let's finish it with a bang. A crooked bounce to start. Favours Frampton. Taps it down to Adams. Gets a handball away. Pendlebury. Handball out towards the wing. Getting onto it, Maynard for the Pies. He kicks short. Bobby Hill low down. Can't quite take the mark. Side bottom sockers it on. Straight to Jack Sinclair. And the Saints get it back at right half back.
Already fascinating. Nick Dacos starting across half back. Brad Hill going to him. So that's going to be a really testing move from Ross.
Sinclair.
Steve Dacos wants to defend.
Filippo roves the pack. They get it onto Hill now. The Saints kick into the pocket. Gresham, does he take the mark? No. Has to get it on the bounce. Runs straight into a Quain or dead end. And he's wrapped up, all up, deep in the right forward pocket for the Saints. No score, 41 seconds played.
Yeah, poor choice of kick there. Had players, could have hand passed it over the top as opposed to a dinky little kick.
Brampton wins it down, trying to get a hand pass out the back. Josh Dacos, it's into the goal square. This could be dangerous. Trying to get players over the top. Has it been locked in? Umpire circles, ball stays in there. Holding the ball, the call. Well, there's a bit of push and shove after all of this, and the Saints with a great early opportunity. It's against Murphy underneath all of that. And Brad Crouch able to come back here. He'll get the free kick. He'll stand at the top of the goal square and he pops it through. What a start for St Kilda. A goal in the opening 80 seconds from a free kick off the boot of Crouch. The Saints 1 straight 6. Collingwood yet to score.
Just let it on the law. He did dive on it. Nathan Murphy had to just belt it through. Still players, I find, aren't confident in knowing what to do near the goal line. He just had to belt it through and he pulled it back in. And again, you know, it's a bit of a gift for Brad Crouch, but
anywhere around the ground though, Baldy, that's a free kick.
Yep.
So
it's in
the 10-yard square. It makes it look worse that it's in the 10-yard square. I agree with you. What is wrong with smashing the ball through? But the bloke can be standing next to you. It doesn't matter. As long as it's in the 10-yard square or thereabouts, you've got to have the confidence to do that.
Bounce back in the middle. Both rucks go up. Marshall knocks it down. Adams onto the footy, though, for the Pies. He tumbles it towards half forward. Here's Crisp. Sweeping handball. Mitchell running to the 50, pulling the trigger and kicking the goal. Collingwood with the instant reply. Right out of the centre bounce down. And scores a level through a couple of minutes. 1 straight 6 apiece here on Grandstand AFL.
Well, we spoke about the centre clearances, the ruck contest, and beautiful work from Taylor Adams there. Billy Frampton, bit of a surprise move perhaps. Starting in the ruck, he's probably a little bit taller than Dan McStay, so he's off to a fire. Taylor Adams reading that beautifully off hands, and Jack Crisp in front first to move. Nice handball, and I think we're not used to seeing Tom Mitchell burst out of the centre and break the paint and kick it from 52, but that's a beautiful kick.
Yeah, and that's the thing about a centre square. There's still only 4 in there, whereas bounce downs around the ground you could have 34 if you want. So that leaves it right open. You've really got to get it right in the centre square. Put the ball into a defensive area if you have to.
From the restart, the Frogs had a tap. Marshall the more telling one, but it's down to Mitchell. Hurried kick inside forward 50 immediately for Collingwood, but it's been turned over. Defensive mark for St Kilda, taken by Liam Stocker. He'll go short towards right half back to Battle. A couple of metres in from the boundary.
Collingwood love this. Slow play. Collingwood get in position. They try to trap players, the ball in the back half.
Long kick down the outer side. Good mark. Darcy Moore, hands high up above his head. Marks on the logo. Puts it in towards Adams. Did well to take the mark. He was having pressure applied. He'll stab it inside forward 50. Punched away by Wanganeen Miller defensively. Spills to McCreary for Collingwood. Hand pass back. Adams got a little nudge in the back from Marshall. Umpire says it's a push. It's going to be a free kick. The Magpies will have it right in front, and Adams can go back and kick on goal. Only the slightest angle to the right, and he'll be putting boots of ball from inside 50.
Well started, sorry, Mick, for the intercept mark from Darcy Moore on the wing. And
that's a slow play, bully.
Yeah, and young Saints forwards have got a big job today. As they haven't come up against a back six like this yet. It was the mark, the kick inside to Adams, who's off to a flyer. This will be his 4th possession in a couple of minutes.
Steadies for a moment. Adams, 4-3 for the season. Best and fairest and an All-Australian in the past. Kicks on its way. It's out to the right. Stays right. In fact, it's just scraping through for a minor score. 1-1-7 Collingwood. 1 straight 6 St Kilda. 5 gone in the first.
Battle going for a little run. Shanks his kick. Almost a turnover fortuitously. It's able to get to Ross, who picks it up for the Saints, gives it to Wanganeen Miller, streaming through the middle of Adelaide Oval to Caminiti, gives it off by hand to Hill, handball over the top, here's Clark, kicks inside attacking 50, bouncing ball, the Saints are onto it, Philippou, he snaps high towards full forward, looking for a marker, the Saints are down there, the Pies arrive, they push it under, eventually it spills out, Mitchell goes back to Josh Dacos, who turns it over. Crouch marks, goes really short, not the required distance. Wood gives it back to Crouch. He snaps, it goes 5 metres and side bottom steals it.
Side bottom, out towards Elliott, bounces in front of him. Gets a chance to go back by hand. Pies can set up again, but they turn it over. That was disappointing down the outer side of the ground. Elliott's hand pass was back and McStay kicked it straight down to Battle. St Kilda move it into the middle of the ground. Taking a bounce as Ross through the centre circles, kicks out and finds Burns. He marks it left half forward. Burns to St Kilda, inside forward 50, defensive mark to Frampton. He was up there in the right back pocket. He'll kick across the face of goal. Now an opportunity for Nick Dacos to take a bounce.
In that famous number 35 jumper, he kicks out towards the eastern wing and finds Crisp.
Good running, Jack Crisp. Had a down week last week, we all know about that. Looks like he's up on top of the ground already in this first quarter.
Yeah, it looked like he was playing with the weight of the world on his shoulders last week, understandably, as he kicks around the wing and getting in front. Wilkie knocks it out, a throw-in.
Mick, you mentioned off the top that the Pies are so attacking and aggressive with their back six, they can be done over the back. They've got away with one there. They had 3 players, the Saints, out goal side in their front 50. They just weren't good enough to execute and find one of them.
Yeah, poor kick.
Collingwood leading by a point. From the restart on the wing, going after it, Ross picking it up, Adams shovels out a handball. Hill will steal it there for the Saints. He's quickly tackled by Mitchell. Ball jars free eventually. Can they try and get it out of there? Stocker goes in. Now Pendlebury goes again for the Pies. He loses it. And there's a whistle, a throw. So the free kick will go to Seb Ross. He'll have it at centre half back. Collingwood by a point.
Ross looks to move it short. Turns it over. Stretching and marking, side bottom. He was looking to try and get it to Brad Hill, and side bottom intercepts. 2 kicks from goal, just shy of left half forward. Side bottom for the Magpies. Kicks towards full forward. They come from everywhere. Marshall brought it to ground for the Saints. Still there to be won. Trying to work it out again. They've got players right around this. Hoping to move it out then for a moment. Jack Ginnivan not to be. Locked in instead. Ball up. 25 out from Collingwood's attacking goal to the right of our broadcast position. Riverbank side of the ground. Marshall won it down. Adams tried to get a hand pass away. Onto it, Elliott. Quick hand pass forward. Hill snaps. Hill goes. Collingwood have got their second. 8 minutes into the opening term. Bobby Hill. He makes it 2-1-13 to St Kilda. 1 straight 6.
Yeah, opportunist. Just... He has been. I was questioning why they would get that player when they've had Ginnivan and those sort of players around, but he's just a little bit different again. So he just knows where to get the football. The big difference is one touch. Good sides rarely make a mistake under pressure. And we saw Jamie Elliott come through. He just took that one touch. Yep. So once he takes it like that, you've got to go at him. And when you go at him, he then opens up the next hand pass. Of course, it's out, and you've You've virtually broken the back of the opposition.
Such a busy pre-game. Didn't have a chance to check in with Liz Walsh downstairs. Conditions, Liz, they still look magnificent.
Oh, they're absolutely glorious. And if I had to sum it up in any way, it would be that spirits down here are just as sunny as the skies.
Back in the middle, Marshall wins the tap, but Pendlebury steals it for the Pies. Handball to Mitchell. Handball to Nick Dacos, coming off halfback. Forward handball, trying to find Crisp. Can't quite gather it. Wood goes in, halves the contest initially. Then Marshall arrives. He jumps in on top, holds it up, and we'll get a ball up at centre half forward here for Collingwood.
Clearance is 5-2, so they've obviously done their homework despite the ruck situation, the Pies.
Johnson in the ruck for the Pies. Mitchell onto the ground ball, gives it back to Nick Dacos. Kicks inside 50, looking for a marker. No one's able to take it. Howard there for the Saints, gives it off to Sinclair. Handball over the top.
Burns gets a chance to go back by hand. St Kilda can measure the kick to Battle. He's got it at left half back himself. Kick from Wilkie, directing traffic behind him. Battle kicks down the commentary wing. 2-on-2 Battle, off hands. Comes down again to Higgins. Yeah, hand pass away to Crouch. Under real pressure. Ross straight away. Got it back a second time. Taken the ground. Wrapped up in there. Maynard got him one side. Side bottom the other. On the logo right beneath our broadcast position. Collingwood lead by 7 points. All out the side. Trying to get to it. Josh Dacos. Couldn't pick it up. Eventually gathered by St Kilda. Hurry kick inside forward 50. Flying Quaynor. Has he been able to take the mark? Touched on the way through, perhaps. Yes, touched according to the umpire. The kick inside forward 50.
Tackles are 10-5. Collingwood's favour. They are ferocious at the moment, the Pies.
Owens wins the tap down. Straight to Windhager. Handball to Phillippo. Little 1-2 back to Windhager. Just impacted by Ginnivan as he kicked. And in the end, it will tumble through for a minor score. Good defensive effort there from Jack Ginnivan. Back into the side after his suspension today. As it stands at the moment, 2-1 to 1-1, Collingwood lead. 8
minutes gone, or to play rather, in the third serve at Norwood. Hawthorn lead by a point now, 7-5-47 to 6-10-46. That's close. Collingwood move it beyond defensive 50. Wanganeen Miller couldn't take it. Oh, McCreary, clever. Socketed it along the ground. He goes after it a second time. Clark got in the way for the Saints. Gathers. Kicks hard up against the boundary. Perfect kick. Spots Higgins. Marks and plays on off a step. He'll put it towards full forward. They come from everywhere. Caminiti trying to get a hand to it. Spills down. Trying to get it out. Owens couldn't quite get rid of it. Markov picks it up. Dacos will go short to Mitchell for Collingwood. They repel that attack and kick towards the commentary wing.
Loose footy on the wing. Sinclair just soccers it forward for the Saints. Filippo picks it up. Handball away to Crouch. Attacking edge of the square. High ball into the pocket looking for a marker. Murphy going back with the flight. Good chest mark. Great defensive mark for the Pies in their left back pocket.
I'd hate to be a St Kilda forward. At the moment, the ball is either too high, too low, over the back. You're going to be an old man before the game finishes and bending, so good luck.
Murphy long beyond defensive 50 to Wood. Hand pass straight into Ginnivan. Ricochets off him and is over for a boundary throw-in. Left half back as far as Collingwood's concerned.
I'll tell you what I did find interesting today. Collingwood are using the Port Adelaide dressing rooms today. I wonder, lucky they didn't accidentally put the prison bars on.
Very cheeky, Ben. I like it.
Fallen flat, hasn't it?
I'll guarantee all the people who are listening to think it's great.
I liked it. Thought he won it down. In the meantime, Collingwood have been able to win it back. Hoskin Elliott, who was the late change in for De Goey, of course, who misses due to illness. St Kilda steal it away. Kicks inside forward 50. Big fly from Moore defensively. Couldn't mark it to Hoskin Elliott. Comes out the side. Now to Nick Dacos. Hard up against the boundary. Moves it on to Maynard. Under pressure. Kicks down the outer wing. Trying to find a teammate. No one's there. It ricochets. Oh, beautifully bouncing up there for side bottom. Sweeps a hand pass over the top to Ginnivan. Ginnivan heads towards goal. He'll miss to the left-hand side. Back in the team this week. Jack couldn't convert. Collingwood 2-1-13. Oh, hang on. They almost turned it over. 2-2-14 to 1-1-7. 13 gone in the first.
Here they go, the Saints. Wilkie trying to kick to the wing. A turnover. And the mark taken by Murphy for the Pies. He chips it short. The Oleg Markov, one of the 4 South Australians out there today for Collingwood, comes back infield to the logo and Murphy marks, gives it off to Nick Dacos. Chips short for Adams. Good kick. Still 2 kicks from home here, the Pies. They lead by 7 points. 13 minutes into the first. He sets it up, Adams, looking for a marker. Big fist comes from Wilkie. Wanganeen Miller at the back. He gathers the footy for the Saints, gives it off to Battle. He kicks to the pocket.
Owen Marks, rising star last week.
Collingwood are very good at cutting off the next kick, and that's what's meaning that when the ball does go in the St Kilda forward line, it's really under pressure and not precise enough for a young forward line to beat the Collingwood back line, particularly led by Moore.
Owen went to Crouch to Battle. They move it out to Ross, and out left half back. It's with Sinclair, who marks and then gets told to play on, stabs it towards Hill, marking on true centre wing. Hands it off to Wanganeen Miller for the Saints. Kicks in the direction of centre half forward. Ball underground by Johnson. Higgins, though, there mops up the crumbs for the Saints. Moves it inside forward 50. Windhager shares it around. Hand pass again towards Higgins. Throws it on the left boot. Kicks towards full forward. Almost a terrific mark there, Owen, who continued his run from defence. It's then been locked in just at the top of the goal square. Umpires spot a free kick. Taken high under all of that. One of the Collingwood players taking it off the deck. Try and hand pass it away. They move it on quickly through Mitchell. And they go towards left half back, but a mark taken defensively here by Burns, who has it for the Saints. He's got it at right half forward.
So Burns, his kick smothered by Ginnivan on the mark. Good work. It ricochets away to side bottom. His kick doesn't quite find McStay. Now Burns gets involved again. Crisp goes in for the Pies though. Steals it. Pies at centre half back. 1-2 Crisp and Adams. Chaining handballs through the middle. Frampton to Hill. They've got a man out the back. It's Johnson. Can it get there? Over the back of the pack it goes. Bouncing ball. It will get to the line. He flicks it. It stays in play. This would be something. So Battle arrives. He wins it and then kicks up the corridor dangerously. Side bottom bobs up and he takes the intercept mark for the Pies inside their attacking 50. Marks it 45 out directly in front.
Well, Battle had a target on the flank by himself. He elected to go the harder one. Out of the back line, if there's any doubt, you go to safety, and you're going to pay us a big price here.
It's a 45-metre kick, too much hang time, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Bites the intercept.
Closing in on 300 games. This man is generally slick. Not on this occasion. He's missed a lot. Out of bounds on the full. The Saints get it back in their left back pocket. Pies by 7.
Just had the one kick Jack in him in his first game back, but some of his efforts off the ball will really please his coach at the moment.
Here's Burns. Kicks towards a pack on centre wing. Flying for it, Murphy. Spilled down. Chance to move it out here. Philippou. Quick hand pass. Owens. Hand passed over his shoulder. Came to Marshall. Caught his kick. Brilliantly smothered by Maynard. Marshall has to slide in. Trying to get it away. Maynard and Pendlebury. They lock it in. This will be holding the ball.
I don't know how you're supposed to get rid of that. I know the rule's the rule, but if the other two players, the opposition players, are on top of you with the ball in their hand, it's almost impossible then to get rid of the footy.
It's caused by the Maynard smother, though.
Absolutely. Yep. I think the 1%ers so far, that's why Collingwood only lead by a goal, but they lead because of those 1%ers. They're miles in front of the Saints at the moment.
Noble went out to left half forward where Frampton marked, and then he kicks deep inside forward 50. Big pack up. There's a Saint down. It hurt too. Spills out to Adams. Centering kick around the body. Back there, Burns looks to chop it off, and he takes the defensive mark for the Saints.
Kicks laterally to Wilkie. One of 4 Crow Eaters in the Saints team today. North Adelaide, not far from here. He kicks up towards the wing, spills down to Owens, gathers for the Saints to Philippou, sweeps a handball over the top, onto it Hill. Handball away to Clark, back to Philippou, worried out of it there by Quaynor, who goes on top of the footy, nearly hatches an egg. Instead it stays in, and we'll get a ball up on the wing.
Just got to be careful with the handball game through the Pies pressure. It's too hot at the moment. Just that one extra handball invites it in. Get it forward, take the yards.
Burns hands pass over the shoulder to Windhager. Now an opportunity for Ross for the Saints to kick towards left half forward. It's out of bounds on the full. Collingwood will get the free kick. Murphy takes it quickly, stabs it back to Noble. Gets around Higgins. Kicks towards the outer side of the ground. Coming up Hill, takes the mark. On the long sleeves he's got going today and finds Frampton again. Running by Hoskin. Elliott receives the hand pass inside forward 50. That's perfect. Great football. Elliott marking 45 out from goal. tighter than a 45-degree angle to the left.
It's great transition footy. It's a beautiful kick from John Noble. It was a 55-metre switch kick and the work rate from Hill to get out there and on the end of it. Billy Frampton, really liking what I'm seeing. I think the lack of Saints' tall forwards has facilitated Frampton going into the ruck and it's giving him a bit of freedom. He was the next one in the chain that broke out to the wing and lovely bit of play.
Got the long sleeves on here, Elliott. And the orange boots, the kick's on its way, look pretty good. Oh, just been saved on the goal line. St Kilda able to bring it back into play. Ross got a hand pass away to Burns, hand passed over the shoulder straight to McCreery. McCreery shrugged one tackle, couldn't get away the second time from Burns. It'll be held in. Ball up the decision, right forward pocket for the Magpies, who still lead 2-2-14. St Kilda 1-1-7, 19 gone in the first.
Umpire puts it aloft. Frampton and Marshall both with hands on it. Comes down to Clark. Clear and kick there from Burns, who kicks long to the wing. And the mark taken by Murphy again.
He's a good player, this bloke.
He just shoved him under the ball there. He's been terrific, Murphy.
Murphy gives it off to Nick Dacos. He kicks inside, attacking 50. Standing tall, Wilkie.
Well, I was going to say, both teams are really strong on intercept possessions, and Callum Wilkie's every bit of that.
Gives it off to Wanganeen Millera, who kicks towards Butler on the wing. Knocked out of his hands 50.
Well, he had taken the mark. I mean, it's instant, yes. But they're the little ones that you just have to be a bit more disciplined with.
Butler wants to play on, puts it on a platter beautifully for a leading target. And Higgins has claimed it. 47 metres out, a slight angle left of centre.
It was sticky hands, wasn't it? He had John Noble right up his backside. Jack Higgins, what sort of form he's in, and he landed quite heavily. They still test him distance-wise, but he's not really good.
He's not that good like this Bally. He likes to kick it. In fact, he'd be lucky to make the distance.
Set sail from right on the paint of 50. He does just, but away to the right. Distance, not the accuracy on this occasion. One straight kick is Collingwood's lead, 2-2 to 1-2. We're into time on in this first term.
He needs to be closer, and he likes to swing it around his body. I'm talking about Higgins' kick.
Nick Dacos, short to Quaynor, marking in the shadows in the right back pocket. He'll trot back into the sunshine. Suggested he's going to go down the line. He does with the right boot towards centre wing. Myercheck sets himself. Two Saints come in from the side. They punch it through Marshall forward. Earns to Crouch. Bounces a kick that'll go inside forward 50, then tumble over the boundary line for a throw in about 35 out from Saints attacking goal. Hawthorn lead by 9 points now. 2 minutes to play in the third term. 8-7-55 to the Giants 6-10-46. And earlier today, Geelong by 47 over West Coast.
Umpire brings it back in. Cordy doing the ruck work for the Saints. Brings it down and tries to follow up, but Collingwood come away with it. Nick Dacos snaps around the corner towards the wing. Myercheck halves the contest, sees it out, a throw in.
Now, Paulie, can I just say about that stoppage? Collingwood had 3 defensively. St Kilda didn't have any offensively. So clearly, all you have to do is just tap that ball to that side. What's wrong with them? Come on, Paulie, you're a midfield specialist.
Well, you'd like to see them at least working through the stoppage, wouldn't you, on the move? To at least put some pressure on that defensive exit, especially with an advantage in the ruck too, Mick.
Hand pass forward for the Saints from Ross. Onto it quickly. Burns bursts onto it. Hand pass across half forward. Higgins receives. Kicks towards full forward. Only favoured Moore. No chance for Caminiti to get anywhere near it. And more for the Magpies. Stumps it towards left half back. Didn't suit. Patton was there for the Saints. Gave it back to Higgins. He pops it into Cordy, marking 49 out from goal. He's only probably 4 or 5 metres in from the boundary at right half forward.
The reason why I owed it all and that about Higgins just blazed away. He had 3 genuine targets. Lowers his eyes. He could have picked any one of those 3 30 metres out. It was quite extraordinary kick.
He got a second go at it, didn't he? And made that decision.
Cordy, the former Bulldog, trying to go short to the top of the goal square. Noble read it well, got there and took the defensive mark for the Magpies. He'll trot back into his goal square to start things again. 2-2-14 to 1-2-8. Collingwood over the Magpies. Collingwood over St Kilda. 23 gone in the first.
Noble goes long and there's a free kick picked out. Josh Dacos is going to come up with it at right half back here for the Pies. Dacos will try and wait his kick, trying to get it towards Myercheck. Clark just leaves him and intercepts it in front of the interchange gates. right beneath us on the western wing, and 50 as well. Bo McCreary.
Is it McCreary or Myercheck?
Myercheck. It was Myercheck just been lazy. Myercheck was lazy on the lead up for a start off. He let Clark take too much ground of him, and I just got a feeling he just wandered through as if it was.
Yeah.
He's on a Sunday morning stroll.
Like you this morning, Mick. 16 Ks. It's good going.
Yeah.
Don't go that far on holiday. Here's Hunter Clark trudging in. Can he take full toll from the 50-metre penalty? Boots a ball from 45. The kick is true. And St Kilda level it up. And finally take one of their chances. 2-2-14 apiece at the 24-minute mark of this first term.
Really like him, Paulie. I know he's been stiff with his injuries, but there's a lot to like about him. He's reasonably quick. We know he's brave. He can play half-back, he can play wing, he can play in the middle. He's just that type of player that a good, like Ross Lyon would be thinking, there's a three-positional player and honest and tough. So he's a fantastic player for them.
Yeah, 72 games now, so it's really started to come to that point of his career where he should be feeling pretty comfortable out there. And I think had a good off-season. That's been the key to him to staying healthy. He started well.
Voice of Luke Ball and Mick Malthouse, our experts on Grandstand AFL. The ruck got a telling tap. Chris looked to soccer it backwards for the Magpies.
Oh.
And Crouch goes across half-back. Higgins sliding. Take the free kick here, Collingwood. Spot which umpire actually called. That's the non-controlling umpire back in the defensive 50 for the Magpies, who spotted something. Will come back here to be taken by Phillips. Steers it out towards Noble, who marks on centre wing. Wants someone to run towards him. Nothing doing, so he'll put it into the right forward pocket. Myercheck front position at the back. Great mark battle. He was made to battle too. He brings it down for the Saints.
Bit out of sorts, Brody Myercheck. Hasn't touched the footy yet, and he's been outmarked 3 times already in this first quarter.
Battle with the driving ball to the wing. Caminiti! He put a knee into the back of Maynard and takes a nice grab on the wing.
Yeah, it's a good mark.
Caminiti for the Saints. He'll kick long towards the contest. Filippo will launch. There's a free kick. Going to go to the Pies and Moore. So Moore will have it at right half back. Scores level. 26 minutes into the opening term.
That kick was always going to go where Moore was. Moore positioned himself, and then he was on the smaller player. That's why he was grabbed.
Moore kicks long to a contest. Off hands. Elliott can't quite gather it the first time. Allows the Saints in. Crisp jams it on the boot. Tumbles it inside 50. Here's Ginnivan. Onto the footy. He snaps. Smothered. Wilkie brilliant. Great defensive effort. Owens comes in. Handball misses the target.
Picking up again, McCreary. Puts it back inside. Forward 50. Myercheck surely been held. Umpire says no. Plays on. Moving across. Wanganeen Miller are back to Sinclair. St Kilda can rebound here. Wood able to spot Higgins, who marks in the sunshine in the right back pocket.
Good work by Higgins. He's not locking himself into that easy. Well, it's easy to be knocked out of the game in the forward pocket, so to come up the ground like that's terrific.
Higgins kicks towards the outer side as the siren sounds. We're all square after the opening term of the final game of Gather Round at Adelaide. Collingwood 2-2-14, St Kilda 2-2-14. The goal kickers for the Magpies, Tom Mitchell and Bobby Hill, while for the Saints, Brad Crouch and Hunter Clark. Wherever you're listening on ABC Radio, Sport Digital, and of course now streaming on the ABC Listen app, look for the AFL button. This is Grandstand AFL.
With the ABC Listen app, you can take the footy with you wherever you go. Off to walk the dog?
Take the footy.
Going camping?
Take the footy.
Picnic in the park?
Take the footy.
ABC Sport's expert coverage of the AFL.
Incredible grab.
And the NRL. Every goal, try, mark and tackle. Live and commercial free.
He bounces it through.
So whatever you're up to,
take the footy.
Take the footy with you on the ABC Listen app.
You're listening to the AFL Gather Round.
Grandstand AFL.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
And now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
It plays over the top. As it being locked in, umpire circles, ball stays in there, holding the ball, the call. Brad Crouch able to come back here He'll get the free kick. He'll stand at the top of the goal square and he pops it through. What a start for St Kilda. A goal in the opening 80 seconds.
Adams onto the footy though for the Pies. He tumbles it towards half forward. Here's Crisp, sweeping handball. Mitchell running to the 50, pulling the trigger and kicking the goal. Collingwood with the instant reply.
Riverbank's side of the ground. Marshall won it down. Adams tried to get a hand pass away. Onto it, Elliott. Quick hand pass forward. Hill snaps, Hill goals. Collingwood have got their second.
Dacos will try and weight his kick, trying to get it towards Mychek. Clark just leaves him and intercepts it in front of the interchange gates. Right beneath us on the western wing, and 50 as well is Hunter Clark, trudging in. Can he take full toll from the 50-metre penalty? Boots a ball from 45. The kick is true. And St Kilda level it up.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Earlier today, Geelong beat the Eagles by 47 points. It's three-quarter time at the other venue, Norwood. And there, Hawthorn lead by 8-7-55 to the Giants 6-11-47. The big news before this game, gather round locked in South Australia for the next 3 seasons. It'll be here until 2026. Congratulations to everyone involved. It's been spectacular so far. The final game of the round. What have we made of things? Our experts on Grandstand AFL, Mick Malthouse and Luke Ball.
Good on your ball. He just hand passes straight to me. And that's, I'm talking to Dane Swan recently, and he said, yep, Bally was the player that used to be the best at helping me out all the time.
Pure respect and deference.
No, good on you, Bally.
Did you get half a Brownlow for that, or?
Sure, it got a game.
Just the odd cashy.
Well, it's a good game. It's a really good game. Defensively, both sides are really on top. There's been a lot of possessions. St Kilda 111 for going in only 13 times. Collingwood 90 for going in 14 times. But it's been repelled rather easily in many respects. Paulie, you know it on the head when you said Mychek looks like he's out of touch. Johnson hasn't touched it either. I know he's been this sort of secondary ruck come forward, but he hasn't touched it. And I'm just saying about Gresham. Gresham hasn't touched the football. It's just quite amazing when you look through the stats and you think it's the normal. Look, you've got Adams, Dacos, Mitchell, side bottom. You expect those players to get the football, and they are getting it. Crouch, Higgins is coming a long way up to get his football. I'm quite impressed in the way he's changed his game, and maybe that's because of Ross Lyon. He's no longer just hooked into a forward pocket where you either get it and you don't. If you don't get it, quite often you don't. Then you're not only starved of it, you've got to make every post a winner. And if you don't do that, you start to get questioned on your ability to kick goals. So now he's been questioned on his efforts. So his efforts have been fantastic. The Marshall ruck duel hasn't turned out the way I thought. I thought Marshall may have dominated. Frampton has been
okay. Frampton,
yeah, he's been pretty good. You couldn't say either side. Look, I think there's only one difference in the clearances. It's two, so it's 9-7. But it's probably more to say that St Kilda, Collingwood have cleared it better from the centre bounces. So that's not an advantage at all at the moment. But I will say this, that when St Kilda go forward, I reckon that the big thing, they look up and they don't only see the goalpost, they see more. More just stands out. They've got to either go around him or start to kick the ball into a shorter leading version. Otherwise, he'll just keep marking it. And we know how good Murphy... was it Murphy?
Yeah, Murphy.
Yeah, Murphy's his offsider, his wingman. He is fantastic as well. So they're not going to mark much down there. They're going to bring it in differently.
Well, likewise at the other end too, Mick. Yeah, the both teams, you feel like you're going to have to conjure up ways to score heavily today. Yeah, you're right. A lot of possessions, reasonable amount of inside 50s, but not a lot of sort of penetration and scoring. So, as I look down, is Dan McStay, has he been summed up? No, between McStay, Mychek and Johnson, one possession. And at the other end, it's the inexperience of Caminiti and Owens against and Cordy against Moore, as you said. So both forward lines need to get to work.
I'll get Ben to have a look at some of the numbers at the next stoppage as we're underway in the second quarter. Rucks go at it. Marshall won it down to Clark for the Saints. Gave it to Ross. Throws it on the boot. Kicks towards centre half forward. Oh, Higgins leading out. Attacked it strongly. Couldn't get there. Owens does. Gathers. Bounces the kick around the body. Caminiti couldn't quite gather it.
Didn't have to.
He should have let it go. And I think trying to touch it, he's actually taken it across the line for what is a rush behind. A minor score. 2-3-15 to 2-2-14. It gives the Saints the lead, though, in the opening 20 seconds of this second term.
Just going to say, like, Marshall really went at that centre bounce. So I think he's been mentioned. Listen, you've got to really have a crack at this. You're the ruckman, be the ruckman, and that's why they got the clearance. He was very aggressive.
Dacos and Adams have had it 11 times apiece. Crouch with 10.
Marshall slaps it down straight to Wood, dribbles a kick forward, Crouch onto the footy for the Saints, kicks them inside attacking 50, bouncing ball gathered by Murphy for the Pies. He kicks beyond the defensive 50. Pendlebury, an unusual fumble for him, and Ross gets it for the Saints to Clark, to Marshall, high left-footed kick looking for a marker. Caminiti goes up, doesn't mark. Butler's there at the fall of the ball. His handball though pinched there quickly by Crisp. And now the Pies will lose it to the Saints again. Clark's kick, poor, back inside 50. And Josh Dacos marks for the Pies.
Sends it out to McCreary at left half back. Takes the uncontested mark.
That was an interesting kick by Clark. One, he had 3 targets and he hit the Collingwood player perfectly.
McCreary comes up the commentary wing. Mark taken. Clark gets it again. Hand pass almost stolen away by Johnson. Trying to slap it forward once more was Ross. Battle does punch it forward. Still there to be won. Maynard looked to tap it back. Only as far as Sinclair, though. Now the Saints can build something. They come towards right half forward. The kick from Crouch into the right forward pocket. More. Terrific spoil. Made absolutely sure Higgins couldn't get there. Sees it over the boundary line for a throw-in. 35 out from the Saints' goal.
Yeah, it takes big, tall, short sprinters, you name it, long jumpers, high jumpers.
Think of his powers.
Yeah, he can do it.
4:50 stoppage for the Saints. Frampton brings it down to the front. Markov away towards Josh Dacos, who was collared. Get a free kick. What about Luke Ball too, gents? Trying to enact the sub so I can see the Collingwood number 12 back out there. Tom Wilson with that number on today.
Just reacting to the computer in front of me. He turned red for a sec there, Dan McStay.
He did twice.
He still is.
It's
still red.
Scared both of us twice, I'll be honest, Luke.
What's happening down there, Liz?
We'll get back to Liz in a moment. Boundary throw in on the wing. Mick Malthouse, Luke Ball, Clint Wilden and myself, Ben Cameron, as well as Liz Walsh downstairs, bringing you all of the action. Collingwood and St Kilda to round out, gather round.
He's down on the bench. More from Liz in a moment. That's McStay we speak of as Frampton, probably the more telling tap, comes out towards the boundary line. Clark for the Saints gathers, gives it back to Marshall, kicks towards right half forward, up Maynard. Moore was battling away with Owens. Maynard floated across from the front. He takes the mark at left half back for the Magpies.
Great done by the captain. Just put his body there. Let Maynard have freedom at that. Beautifully done.
Saints lead by a point. Early second quarter. Kick to a pack on the commentary wing. Saints again get hands to it. Came from Battle to Marshall. Hurry kick forward. Turned over. Not what Clark was hoping for. Chance again here for Moore. So flare it out to the outer wing. Chasing out after it. Side bottom. Got Burns to beat. Burns still looks to knock it away from him. Hill tries to lend support. Side bottom picks it up for the Magpies. Hand pass to Hill. Now to Markov. Stabs it inside forward 50. Too much on the kick. Wilkie takes the defensive mark for the Saints, who lead by a point. We've gone 3 and a bit minutes in the second term.
Gives it off to Ross, who kicks the Saints to the wing, and the mark taken there by Hill. Back with his coach, who he was best and fairest winner under at Fremantle in 2017. Goes back inside the defensive 50, back to Dougal Howard, who wants to switch it to Battle. They'll bring it down the broadcast wing, the western side of the ground. Battle kicks short to Wood. Look out! Nearly ran into a little bit of trouble. Gives the handball away to Ross. Goes to Filippo, who will kick it back to Wood, just forward of the wing.
You're a frustrated player, Benny. I think you call that so he could get... I reckon he heard you.
I wouldn't have been that aware, Mick. There's the long kick inside 50 from Wood off hands. Comes down, rove there beautifully by Crisp. And now the Pies can bounce out of their deep 50 through Markov.
They come up the middle, diving forward. Elliott takes the mark. Taken into the ground by Howard.
Saw too.
Yeah, it hurt.
Did he land on the ball, do you think, Paulie?
He either landed on the ball or Howard landed on his legs.
Howard definitely
landed on the ball, Bally.
Yeah.
Might have the old corked hamstring, which isn't ideal.
What
it has done is allow 18 Saints players to get
here behind the ball. Yeah.
Still able to spot a player forward who'd run on right through the middle of the ground. He'll kick towards the left forward pocket. Good intercepting mark. The Saints had numbers back and they take it through Battle. They still lead by a point. 5 gone in this second term. Battle will go across the face of goal. Got to spot a teammate. Here's Wilkie. Beyond defensive 50 to Hill, who marks in the sunshine out of sight.
Wants to come inboard. Spots the chest of Jack Sinclair just backward of the logo. Beneath the Max Bashir stand on what is the eastern side of the ground. He drives it long inside 50. Moore spoils it down for the Pies. Crisp onto the footy. Tries to break a couple of tackles. Handball to Mitchell. Handball to Frampton. Handball away, looking for the run of Crisp. Sinclair will come across. Crisp keeps it out in front of himself. Stolen, though, by Crouch for the Saints. Gives it off to Marshall. He'll go long. In good position. Higgins. Diving mark. 30 metres out. 30-degree angle to the right-hand side.
That's a big stretch, big mark, and I don't know if he's hurt himself, but he is, what would you say, 25 metres out? 30 metres out at the most? Round the corner?
Yep.
He's going to kick around the corner.
Well, I don't think he can from this side.
Well, you can kick around that angle.
Yeah.
You shouldn't, but this is where it gets down to his confidence level.
Well, he's in good enough goal kicking form to go back and have a set shot.
I reckon he's worried.
I hope not.
Well, and goals are hard to come by.
Goals are gold.
Yeah, they are. So he's got to go back and do his job here.
9 goals in the last fortnight, and he kicks the drop pump through the middle. The Saints kick away. They lead by 7 points, 3-3-21 to 2-2-14. 7 minutes into the second term on Grandstand AFL. Let's go down to Liz Walsh before Mick Malthouse and Luke Ball.
It got a bit confusing down here. Is he out? Isn't he out? But definitely Daniel McStay is subbed out of the game with a finger injury. And Tom Wilson, the number 12, is running around out there.
There you go, Bawley.
Good to see. Hasn't seen. I think he's only played 7 games in the last couple of years, so good to see him out there. He's been kicking goals in the reserves too, so they need all the help they can get at the moment. And I mean, defence has been ruling the roost in this first quarter in 10 minutes. That was only the first mark inside 50 for the quarter and only 3 for the game across the game. So both teams' back sixes have been on top to this point. It's been a bit of a messy, scrappy game. And that last kick inside 50, which you know is like gold.
The Saints get the clearance. Comes through hands. Philippo shares it with Hill. Back to Philippo. Thumping kick towards full forward. Moore does well. Gets the footy. Sees it over the boundary line. It'll be a throw-in, hard up against the left-hand behind post. So Collingwood down only a finger injury from what we're hearing from Liz, but still another tool. So Frampton's going to have to do a ton of work today.
You suspect it'll be a decent finger injury, though, because you normally bandage them up. So it mustn't be good.
So it's just starting to get on top around.
Well, they're 9-2 inside 50s,
yeah, but stoppages and contested footy. The mids are right on top here at the moment.
Here is Frampton winning it down. Trying to get through Noble, got tackled, lost it. Umpire says play on. Looking to emerge with it again, the Saints. Butler got a hand pass out to Crouch. He's well tackled by Hoskin Elliott. Pendlebury's there as well to lock it in. We'll ball it up once more. Left forward pocket for the Saints.
I like the way the Saints have kept, or the Collingwood have kept their forwards up the ground, so therefore that if there's a quick kick out, they can actually contest it.
Kicked the last 2 goals of the game, the Saints, as like sweeping handball from side bottom, spiked on almost there by Ginnivan. Now picking it up, Myercheck for the Pies, gives it off to Nick Dacos. Wants to come infield with his kick. A switch. It opens the play up for the Pies. Side bottom marks, gives it off to the speedy Markov. Kicks inside 50. Ginnivan marks, has Hill offering. Kicks it out of bounds on the full on the left. A lazy kick off a step. And after all of the good build-up, they're left wanting the Pies. The Saints get it back in their right back pocket. They lead by 7 points, St Kilda, 3-3 to 2-2.
This was never balanced, was he? Trying to kick on his left there. Probably would have been better just going back. He had a few options inside 50.
Dacos, he marks, just forward of the wing. Switch it out towards Pendlebury, just inside the outer edge of the centre square. Moves it short to Hoskin Elliott, who marks. Just joined us, Jordan Ngoe, a late out for Collingwood through illness, and it's Hoskin Elliott who came into the team for him. He'll kick into the right forward pocket. Big pack there. No mark taken. Cleared away. St Kilda through Battle. Down the throat. This is Gresham. I think this will be almost his first touch, won't it? He's at centre half back. Next to the outer side to Burns. Bouncing in front of him. He gathers. As a player running by, set by Filippo, and then turns it straight over to Moore, who marks it right half back. He'll find Mitchell, uncontested mark, middle of the ground.
And now the Dacos brothers combining. Josh gives it off to Nick, a couple of bounces, arches the back, runs a long way. He tries to go with the banana, and he misses.
He's such a smart player, though. He looked up, he didn't have a clear option, and a lot of players would just blaze away there and kick it to an opposition player, another intercept mark, but I mean, he was going for goal. In the end, they get a forward stoppage.
Yeah, missed a lot. So throw in, forward pocket for the Pies. Knocking it down, Marshall. Coming through is Josh Dacos. He can't quite gather it. And we'll get a ball up. Left forward pocket here for the Pies. They're 2-2-14. St Kilda 3-3-21. 11 gone in this second term.
Ball heaved skywards. Frampton takes it, trying to get a clear kick away. Couldn't. Sinclair picks it up. Kicks beyond defensive 50. High up in the air. And Owens.
Only one who wanted it.
Well, this is what I mean about the good setup. Really good setup by the Saints, because when the ball comes out from a haphazard kick, you want representation. The Saints forwards pushed up and gave them something. So it was it's more than just the mark.
Owens to Stocker at right half back. Back to Battle at full back. And now to Howard, who marks in the left back pocket. The switch. Howard will continue going out to the left. Sinclair has to reach down and mark about shin height. He'll come down the line to Marshall. St Kilda continue this slow build-up, but Marshall turns it straight over. Taken by Ginnivan. He'll kick back inside forward 50. Wilkie has to battle up against Elliott. Ball goes to ground. Elliott turns, gets there first. Strongly tackled. He was wrapped up. That was a ripper. Ball jarring free. Wasn't coming out of that. Stocker got him and he's still down.
Yeah, why isn't that a free kick?
Gee whiz. That's collarbone territory too, dare I say it.
That's just free kick every other week, though.
And hit his head on the ground.
Landing into him, goodness me. Didn't sling him. It's not a sling tackle, but he did drive him, and then his head has hit the turf.
But there should be a whistle. No, his disposal was incorrect. That is incorrect disposal. Don't worry about holding the ball.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm just describing
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It was a ripping tackle. And yes, and you're right. He did take him to the ground, but there was no sling, nothing. That's the perfect tackle.
Really bad news for the Pies, who have already used their sub as well. So it could be down a man in this match. McStay already out of the game. Filippo onto the loose footy, hooks it across his body. High ball towards half forward for the Saints. Spills down. Maynard leaves it behind. Now arriving is Cordy. Wins it back for the Saints. Handball to Wood. He'll squeeze a kick inside 50. Trying to find Butler. Markov brings it down. Gets a handball away for the Pies to Moore. To Noble. Time to steady and kick to the wing and finding Maynard.
Maynard sweeps the hand pass. It comes in towards Josh Dacos. Nick left it behind. Mitchell, those there to mop up for the Magpies. Looking to move it forward again. They do it quickly. Turning it over. Johnson looking to move it across centre half back. Chance to clear. Here's Stocker, and he puts it down the throat of Quaynor, who can't mark. Not a great 30 seconds of play. Now it's with Noble, who kicks towards centre half forward, and he finds Johnson, who marks it. He's got it for the Magpies. He tells everyone just to calm down for a moment. He'll chip it short. Josh Dacos marks just inside forward 50. Plays on quickly. Wheels around trying to catch the Saints napping. He did, but he missed to the left. Minor score. So, 2-3-15 to St Kilda's 3-3-21. Downstairs to Liz Walsh.
Yeah, Jamie Elliott came very slowly, very gingerly off the ground. He's now sitting on the bench while the doctors are just looking at the vision. I'll come back to you soon.
Here's Sinclair, the All-Australian halfback, goes long. Maynard upstairs, doesn't quite drag it down. Swatted away by Crouch. Now onto the footy is Nick Dacos. Handball to Noble to Josh Dacos. He's caught, he's taken high. And the Pies come in to defend their mate. Not happy with the treatment.
So around the neck is around the neck. If you touch him or you really rip his head off, it's the same free kick. So I think Seb Ross sort of made a mistake here.
Stocker takes a nice mark. Hill coming one way, Stocker the other on the long kick inside 50 from Josh Dacos. St Kilda lead by 6 points, 3-3 to 2-3. Quarter hour mark of this second stanza.
Saints move it towards left half back. Here's Battle going down the outer wing. Coming inboard, Burns. Drops it, had time to regather, gave it to Patton, kick was smothered. Well done, Hoskin Elliott, spilled out to Mitchell. Hand passes back to Hoskin Elliott for the Pies. Stabs it inside forward, 50, Mychek. Got away from his opponent, and he takes the mark. 45 out from goal. He'll start in line with the right hand behind post.
Well, I reckon the Saints players were thinking, OK, we'll go back to the centre here because this is going to be a goal. We've got that many players forward of the ball. It looks like we've got full control. No, they kick it into the man, and everyone then gets caught out. Myercheck standing back watching the play is the recipient of a good kick to him.
First kick of the day for Brodie Myercheck. They need a goal here, the Pies, don't they?
He's a 4-time leading goal kicker for them. Myercheck's kicks on the way. He gives them the goal that the Magpies needed. And once again, scores are level. 3-21 apiece between Collingwood and St Kilda. Quick update in the other game at Norwood. And the Hawks lead by 7, 10-8-68 to the Giants, 8-13. That's right, 8-13-61. 8 minutes to play in the final term, and some news from Norwood as well. Bad news for the Hawks. Chad Wingard has been taken to hospital with a cut tongue that required stitches.
Ooh,
yuck.
Been doing work for us on the ABC. We need that tongue functioning.
Yeah. Great.
You really stitch tongues either.
Oh, which means it's split somehow.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Mustn't be wearing a mouth guard, maybe. Anyway.
From the restart, Marshall takes it out of the ruck. Kick out towards the eastern wing, bouncing ball. Hoskin Elliott gathers for the Pies, gives it to Maynard by hand. Bouncing ball on the kick, gathered beautifully by Josh Dacos, who gives it back to Maynard. His kick not great. Allows in the Saints, and Wanganeen Millerer picks it up. He'll kick around the boundary, out of bounds on the full. Poor kick. A turnover. Quaynor takes it quickly for the Pies. Comes infield to Nick Dacos. Likes the look of the switch. Finds Moore, who marks in stride. Off he goes. He kicks towards side bottom. Kick, a turnover. Mason Wood marks overhead. The Saints get it back.
Wood spots a teammate who has the stretch. Filippo did well enough, couldn't mark it, but turned and gathered, and then Gresham kicks straight into Moore. Spills back to the Magpies.
I've never seen so many smothers in a match.
Well, it's keeping him in the game at the moment, the Pies.
Pendlebury to side bottom to Noble, kicks towards left half forward. He's the most recent goal kicker in Myercheck marking. Too far out to score here. Goes across half forward. Pendlebury again.
Yeah, against the Saints just haven't been able to hurt them.
Goes short to side bottom. He's still about 52 out from goal. 5 in from the boundary, left half forward.
He's lost a lot of distance steal. He used to be a 50-plus metre kick. Now he just taps it up.
He'll put it to the top of the goal square. Big pack up. Marshall got hands to it first, couldn't mark. Spills out the side. It comes from Chris. Gave it to McCreary. Snapped around the body. Terrific goal to give the Magpies the lead. They're in front at the 18-minute mark of the second term. 4-3-27 to St Kilda, 3-3-21. Collingwood's lead, that goal, 6 points.
They've just persisted. They're not playing well. They've got a lot of flow to their game, the Pies, like we've seen them at their best. But you mentioned the smothers, Mick. They're just hanging in there, and then the Saints haven't been good enough to hurt them on the rebound. They've had plenty of footy. They've had more footy. They're leading the contested possessions, leading the clearances. St Kilda, they just haven't been able to execute with ball in hand. The Pies, it's a sign of a good team. When things aren't really going your way, just hanging in there, finding a way to get a hand in, smother. The last 2 goals have come from direct smothers through the middle of the ground.
And Paulie, they're not, I wouldn't call them desperation smothers. I would just call them the Saints have just gone one step too far. They just didn't realise. I just don't think they were urgent enough, the Saints. That's why they were smothered more so than great play.
St Kilda with the clearance through Ross, though Collingwood onto the footy at half forward. And they pile in. Liz Walsh downstairs.
Yeah, good news for Collingwood. Jamie Elliott's been looked over by the doctors and he's back out on the ground.
Tough.
That is good.
That was a big hit. That had collarbone written all over it.
Knocked down by Johnson in the ruck for the Pies. Through Nick Dacos to side bottom. A tackle from Owens and the Saints win it back. Butler slaps it on into the pocket. More onto the footy. Gives it off to Noble and he can clear the defensive 50 for the Pies. Looking for Maynard. Under pressure there from Ross. Closing late. Out of play, a throw in between wing and half forward for the Saints. The Pies lead by 1 straight kick after kicking the last 2 goals of the game.
Scores are level at Norwood. 10-8-68 the Hawks to 9-14-68 the Giants. About 5 minutes to play there. As Collingwood get the clearance through Crisp. Gives it to side bottom. Oh, stabbed it short. Looking to Johnson. Getting in the way. Marshall. His big frame in front was able to take the mark. He'll put it deep. We'll put it inside forward 50 nonetheless. Quaynor flew, so did Owens. Owens gave it out to Gresham. His hand pass didn't get past Pendlebury, but spilled back to Owens. Tackled by Pendlebury. Gave it to Quaynor. Now towards Nick Dacos. Kicks towards Sedowing, commentary side. Saints have the numbers as the ball spills out. Sinclair gathers. Goes short. Marking there is Wood. 2 kicks from goal. Right half forward. Wheels back onto his left. Kicks inside the attacking 50. Oh, good mark. Going up and able to drag it down. It was in front of a pack of about 7. Nicely worked from this young man with so much promise, Matthias Philippou.
Well, you call it so well. They had so many numbers, Collingwood, in the defence. St Kilda had all their players across the centre line, so it was like, we'll get it, kick it in, you get it, we'll kick it back. Just that his mark then disrupted the centre of play.
He's running at a goal a game in his career so far. This is his 5th game. He's been now able to kick his 6th goal from 45 metres out on an angle to the right. Matthias Philippou kicks a much-needed one for St Kilda, but then to respond and draw level once more. Collingwood 4-3-27, St Kilda 4-3-27. We've gone 21 and a bit minutes in the second term. Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio, Sport Digital, and streaming on the ABC Listen app. Clint Wilden alongside Ben Cameron, our experts, Mick Malthouse and Luke Ball.
He's only 18.
Yeah, so he's a real glimpse of
18 years of age.
It's interesting. I just watched him a couple of centre bounces there. He's lined up next to Scott Pendlebury, and a lot of the talk has been that he's a bit of a Pendlebury sort of Mark II, as he's 190 centimetres, and that's the ability that he's got to go forward and
find that ball.
Yeah, and exactly mark it at its highest point, and then he's a beautiful long left foot kick. We know that. So yeah, some exciting signs, future signs there for the Saints.
South Aussie boy too, from Woodville, West Torrens, who produced a few over their journey. Kick inside 50 for the Pies from Adams. The Saints are at the fall of the ball. Burns gives it off the Battle. Bumped as he kicked. A high ball. Patton goes up. Can't quite take the mark out of play. Just a couple that immediately come to mind. Malcolm Blight, Matthew Pavlich.
They can play.
Yeah. They're both all
they
right,
can play very well.
Yeah. Just ask Blighty sometimes.
The ability of those two players just mentioned.
From the throw-in, Frampton knocks it down. Off hands, it spills to Adam for the Pies. Gives it off towards Josh Dacos. High ball to full forward. The wall of Wilkie. He stands and takes the defensive intercept mark again. He's in all-Australian form down back for the Saints.
It's almost the best backline player playing, a tall backline, I reckon.
Wilkie to Burns to the outer side or crashing into a pack. Goodness me, Kinnaman gave it, or rather Murphy gave it everything. It's towards the outer side to Markov. It's the kick to right half forward. Intercepted though. Well done by Pat. Saints can move it quickly again through Burns, and then he turns it over. There's been a bit of that happening today. Murphy again. Yes, that's absolutely what it is. In the middle of the ground, Ginnivan gives it off to Noble for the Pies. Kicks towards left half forward, and he turns it over down the throat of Wanganeen Millero, who has it at right half back for the Saints. Kicks down the commentary wing, and now Maynard marks. They're just sharing the stats around these two teams at the moment.
I think the last 4 kicks have been intercepted.
We saw less skill errors in the deluge last night, didn't we, at the moment?
It's like markers up.
Maynard towards left half forward. Sorry, Benny.
Comes down at ground level. Myercheck getting involved. We've lost our rhythm, Clint. We haven't been calling together. Myercheck gives it out to Pendlebury. 55 out here for the Pies. Chips into the pocket. McCreary. He takes the mark. 45 metres out. About 5 metres in from the boundary line.
It's the bloke you want the ball in the hands of, isn't it? When everyone else can't hit a target, can't find a target or make a good decision, he's the one that you want, ball in hand. And really it was the only option. They had numbers back St Kilda there. He just took an extra second, composed himself and found McCreary. Certainly these open pockets, this is very gettable for him.
Kick the Pies' last goal to become the first multiple goal kicker of the game. It's across the face. And in the end, it's gone through for a behind. It does hand Collingwood the lead. They lead by a solitary point. 4-4-28 to 4-3-27. 25 played in the second term.
Saints into the right back pocket. I'll look to rebound. Patton kicks towards the commentary wing. Wood, strong mark. Maynard was right there. Hands were good enough for Wood. Running by Wanganeen Miller right up against the boundary line. Kicks hard down the line. Manidi couldn't mark it. Moore was there to mop up. Gave it to Pendlebury for the Pies. Now to Maynard. Stretching for it. Nick Dacos has done well. On to Hoskin Elliott. Sweeping a hand pass forward. Ross got in the way. Tapped it away from McCreary. Has to pick it up. Broke one tackle. Manages to hand it off again to Sinclair. Now to Battle. Gets a hand pass inboard to Clark. The Saints survive that, and they come down the commentary ring. Making sure there was no chance that Windhager was able to get there. Threw himself at the football. No sense of self-preservation. Won it over the boundary line for the Magpies. They lead by a point. 25 gone in the second term. Grandstand AFL from Adelaide Oval.
Umpire spins it in. Marshall hooks it down onto it. Hunter Clark gets a handball away, but stolen there by Maynard, who gives it off to Mitchell. Kicks towards half forward for the Pies. Bouncing ball coming out. Knocking it on is Elliott. Myercheck gathers. Handball, bouncing ball back towards Elliott. Back feeds a handball to side bottom. Wants to centre it. Looking for a marker. Hill flying. Staying down Burns. Brings it down for the Saints. Hill gets a handball away. This is Brad Hill. Slapped on by Higgins to Butler. His handball too hot for Brad Hill. Sinclair gets it back to him, and eventually Higgins snaps to the wing, but a turnover. Murphy marks.
And then Murphy will get 50 as well.
Because he blinked, because he moved his facial expression, because he lifted his finger or whatever. This is it's just ridiculously too harsh. We've scored 4 goals apiece in 60 minutes of football, and we're going to give a chance to a player because someone has moved an inch, hasn't all the rules, hasn't held up play, hasn't interfered with play, but we've got this ridiculous and stupid rule.
Because he reads it well, though, doesn't he? It's his 6th intercept mark for the
Thanks
half.
for backing me up, Paul.
You focus on it. I'll talk about the players, Mick. You focus on the rules.
So here is an opportunity for Murphy.
Oh.
That's a shocking kick. You would say that football justice may have been served by that, Mick Malthouse.
No, I would say that he was embarrassed. I would say, I don't want this. I'm just going to put it out of bounds. It's like soccer.
He put it out of bounds on the full at left full back. The Saints will get it and send it back into play.
The room for conscience in football, Mick. Long kick in towards the contest. On the wing, no one able to mark it. Fighting after it. There's a holding the ball. And pinned is Burns. So Josh Dacos to take it on his left. He sets it up towards full forward. Off the hands of the pack. It comes down in front. Myercheck onto it. Trying to bustle through. Wilkie's got him in a headlock. And the umpire to come in and ball it up. The right forward pocket here for the Pies. They lead by a point. Close to half-time.
Yeah, Myercheck saw 2, and they've had the better of the last 10 minutes here, the Pies. Just need some reward for effort. Need to scrap a goal here.
Marshall wins the tap clearly. Right down to the feet of the congestion, though, and they all can't get it out, holding the ball.
Who was it against? Because 2 players had the ball, one of each, one of Collingwood and one of St Kilda.
It's going St Kilda's way to Wilkie, but yeah.
See, both Sidebottom and Adams were asking a question, and they've got every right to ask a question. Why should it be a free kick?
Big fly, Owens out of side, couldn't mark. Down to Higgins, hand pass straight into traffic. Murphy's back there. Gives it on to Dacos, tap bound by Maynard. So here is Josh Dacos to Nick Dacos. The other way around, actually, and then moved it to Noble, then kicked into the right forward pocket, then marking Wilkie again. Wilkie goes back to Sinclair. Short again. As the siren sounds, ball ends up in the hands of Wanganeen Miller. Half-time, Collingwood lead this by a point. 4-4-28 to St Kilda's 4-3-27. It has at times been a turnover-a-thon, kick-to-kick, as Mick Malthouse rightly described it. That's the way it's panned out throughout it, but nonetheless, it's been hugely entertaining to watch. The Magpies in front by a point. The goal kickers for both sides, for Collingwood, Tom Mitchell, Bobby Hill, Bo McCreary and Brady Myercheck there for goals, while St Kilda's 4 also all individuals. Brad Crouch, Hunter Clark, Jack Higgins and Matthias Filippo. What are we made of things, gentlemen? Mick Malthouse, Luke Ball on Grandstand AFL.
Well, Clint, hasn't been the high-scoring, free-flowing end of the round that we thought we might get, especially in really good conditions. Mick, both sides have really struggled executing forward of centre, and that real connection between mid and centre, and we know that personnel-wise, both sides have got real strength behind the ball in terms of intercept players and really defence controlled that first half. You had Moore and Murphy in particular. I mentioned 6 intercept marks at one end for the Pies. Noble and Maynard involved in the game, and at the other end, Wilkie was the rock, wasn't he? He was the wall that they couldn't get it past. So both sides got a lot of work to do in terms of how they move the ball.
Before we hear from you, there's an absolute thriller just finishing up at Norwood. Last we heard, scores were level. Let's take you there now for the closing stages between the Hawks and the Giants at Norwood Oval.
33 seconds to go, so, yeah, still time. The Giants by 2. They just need to clear it here. Out to right half back. Pack away. It's big fly and taken in the air by Hogan.
That should be it. He's been brilliant today, Hogan, in the air. Yeah, he has, hasn't he? Beautiful, clean hands. He's had 6 shots of goal, but only put the 2 through.
He'll send it to right half forward. Their bigs have stood up in the dying stages. It clears the back. Green kicks it straight to Reeves. Maybe one last roll of the dice. Impey gets it to Frost. Hands it to Nash. He fumbled. Just has to go, but he's gone backwards. Morrison kicks up to half forward. The Giants win. The Giants win a thriller at Norwood. They hold off the young Hawks and remain in the hunt for finals. GWS win by 2 points. 10-17-77 to 11-9-75.
Well, there's a big, big sound from the west of the town. It's the sound of the mighty Giants.
So the Giants end a 3-game losing streak to beat the Hawks by 2 points. As you just heard from Aaron Bryans there, 10-17-77. That's right, 10-17-77 to Hawthorn, 11-9-75. It was a thriller, those final 30 seconds or so at Norwood. Mick Malthouse, I interrupted your thoughts here. Collingwood lead by a point at half-time.
I was just what Bawley said. You know, it's quite remarkable. Both sides here they've gone 218 to 195. Let's work on 400 possessions. We've seen 8 goals. It has been the most remarkable top-of-the-table clash that I can remember. So many turnovers, and I mean, it hasn't got to the stage where it's brutal, because I look at the tackles. The tackles are 24-26. That's okay. It's nothing to write at home about. Clearances 20-12. You wouldn't know that St Kilda have gone another 8 more than St Kilda. It's been relatively even. But the actual turnovers have been quite distressing and quite disappointing. I think people here today would think, you know, we've got two of the most wonderful sides playing at this stage of the year. They can't kick it to a teammate. The number of times that St Kilda have come out of that centre line and had 1v3, and I can remember Darcy Moore has marked 2 alone and Murphy 1 when they were 1v3. The kicker just couldn't find it. Collingwood, who are generally very, very good with their disposal, they've also kicked it straight back. Wilkie's intercepted so many. Sinclair's had 19 possessions from a halfback, done nearly 400 metres. This game can only get better. I'm still enjoying it, but I reckon it can only get better when sides start to settle a little bit. It's just like there's a bit of a rush at the moment, and when you start to get rush, it becomes like a disease. Everyone catches it. So when that settles, I reckon we're going to get a pretty good second half of football.
Yeah, I mean, plenty of the footy, as you said, Mick. I think the Saints, up until about that, or maybe that last 5 minutes, had the better of that second quarter. They certainly dominated around stoppage and the contest for the first 20-odd minutes. But, yeah, you're right, they just weren't able to penetrate it all. Really only Higgins taking that one mark inside 50 for the goal. And other than that, it's been really hard work. One thing that we mentioned during the call that it's been impressive, and it's a trademark of this Collingwood team, and in particular some of those Collingwood players, just the smothers and the ability just to hang in there. You know, okay, we're not playing that well at the moment. Things aren't going that well.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to find a way to hang in there and you know.
Well, they're in front.
Well, they are now.
That's the remarkable thing is when we look at the game, I've thought that the Saints have had probably 55 to 60% of the game, and I don't mean possession, mate. I'm talking about the game.
Yeah.
And they're behind.
Yeah.
So it's an illustration of what you said, Bawley.
They were, yeah. And 2 of those goals that got the Pies back in front were from direct smothers.
Yeah.
You know, so just that extra bit of desperation that sets good teams apart. I think that's what's been impressive about Collingwood at the moment, you know, albeit that there's so much upside in this second half. We just haven't seen that free-flowing game that we've seen, and credit to the way the Saints have defended at times, but a lot of it's been unforced errors, hasn't it? A lot of it's just been giving the ball back without any pressure.
Oh, well, I think Clint called 4 kicks, and each one of them was intercepted. Each one of them was intercepted, not great big pack marks, it just they fell short or they were a yard off or whatever the case may be. So we probably don't expect that.
No.
Like for Collingwood particularly, because the way they finished last year suggested they're a top side and they've been playing top quality football. St Kilda, we're sort of saying, well, yeah, okay, they're indifferent last year, and are they the real thing? On today's performance, I still rate Collingwood as the best side in the competition. On today's performance, you've got to say the Saints are up there, and you've got to now start taking them very, very seriously.
Thoughts of Mick Malthouse and Luke Ball with you on Grandstand AFL. Been an absorbing first half for all sorts of reasons. But Collingwood, they lead by a point. 4-4-28 to St Kilda 4-3-27. Just repeating that other game for you that just finished. The Giants got over the line by the Hawks by 2 points. Dramatic final stages. We might talk a bit more about that as we wrap things up after this game and wrap up everything in Gather Round. And the game here earlier today in Adelaide, Geelong by 47 points over the West Coast Eagles. But with Collingwood having a 1 point lead at half time, let's pause here now and take the latest from the ABC Newsroom.
Hello, this is ABC News with David Rowlands. The fighting between rival military factions in Sudan is continuing into a second day, as doctors say at least 50 people have died already and hundreds more have been injured. The latest from the BBC's Emmanuel Agunza.
The fighting did start in the capital Khartoum, but then overnight we've had reports that it has spread to other parts in the northern city of Marawi, where the Rapid Support Forces have had a very big stronghold. They have been fighting ongoing there. There are counterclaims of who controls one of the vital air bases in the northern city there, but also in the Darfur region. This is a restive region that has known so many years of conflict. We understand that fighting has also been ongoing there, and with no signs of both parties seemingly wanting to have a negotiation to end the conflict, but also to return the country to civilian rule, it does seem that this fight will continue to escalate.
Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has denounced yesterday's smoke bomb incident at a port in western Japan. A man was arrested after allegedly throwing a smoke bomb into the assembled crowd not long before the Prime Minister was due to speak, and a second device was found later. Mr. Kishida says Japan must not allow acts of violence that strike at the foundation of democracy. The suspect is so far refusing to answer questions about the incident. A woman who was fatally stabbed in Darwin on Friday night had been visiting from out of town to see her son. Lillian Rangia has more on this story.
A 56-year-old man has been charged with murder after allegedly stabbing his 51-year-old partner with a knife in Darwin CBD on Friday night. The ABC understands the woman had travelled to Darwin for the court appearance of her son, who was in jail. Her final action was to seek help in the nearby Hilton Doubletree Hotel, where bystanders provided assistance, including Indigenous Affairs Minister Linda Burney, who comforted the woman's family. Today, Labor Senator Malandiri McCarthy told Sky News the incident was a reminder of how many women are killed in Australia every week. The alleged offender is expected to appear in court tomorrow.
Queensland Police have scanned 530 people with metal detection wands, confiscating 8 weapons in the state's safe night precincts and on public transport over the weekend. The operation has come about as a result of new legislation dubbed Jack's Law, after Gold Coast teenager Jack Beasley, who was stabbed to death in December 2019. Acting Deputy Police Commissioner Mark Wheeler says the number of weapons detected across 18 locations is concerning.
Weapons like machetes, knives, box cutters, in one instance a set of knuckle dusters. Really, if you're carrying those weapons, I can only draw one conclusion as to what your intent was. There's simply no reason.
WA Premier Mark McGowan has labelled an overnight riot at Perth's Casuarina prison as shameful. The 3 detainees are sold to the female supervising officer. The detainees, one of whom is 18, were engaging in recreational activities when they used a makeshift weapon to hit the officer on the head. They then took her keys and opened multiple accommodation units, with 13 inmates retrieving a ladder and climbing onto the roof. Mr McGowan says up to 7 guards were injured, with one sustaining a broken foot. He's condemned the actions of the prisoners.
They should be ashamed of themselves. Their conduct is appalling. They will now suffer the consequences. There are charges that will be laid against them. But, if anyone sort of says, they shouldn't be in custody, this is the sort of stuff they do.
Home builders left in the lurch following the failure of construction company Porter Davis have rallied on the steps of Victoria State Parliament. Nicole Asher reports.
About 50 people gathered on Spring Street demanding government help to recoup their deposits. The collapse of Porter Davis has left about 1,700 home building projects in limbo. The majority of those are in Victoria, with about 200 in Queensland. Liquidators appointed to take over the company have warned some customers who'd paid a deposit but not had work begin have been left uninsured, meaning their deposits were not protected. Those home builders are now demanding government step in to recover their money.
Victoria's Premier Daniel Andrews says he doesn't have any announcements to make just yet about how the government will help victims of the collapse. And Australian golfer Grace Kim has won her first LPGA event, taking out the Tour Championship in Hawaii. The 22-year-old rookie shot a final round 4 under 68 to force a three-way playoff. Kim says she's still coming to terms with the triumph.
I really didn't have high expectations. I think I just really tried to play my own game, didn't try to force anything, just trying to, go with the flow. I'm still speechless that it's kind of done already, and I got the job done. So mine's kind of busy, I'd say.
ABC News.
Victor Moa, Boomerang, Hills Hoist, one-day cricket. Aussies are an inventive lot. It couldn't have been made anywhere else. Tony Armstrong is rolling open the shed door to explore Aussie creations.
They tell us who we are and the times we live in.
And in there lies the charm.
From Speedos to Stubbies to the humble meat pie.
Enjoy the show.
Great Australian stuff. Tuesday nights on ABC TV and streaming on ABC iView.
You're listening to the AFL Gather Round.
Grandstand AFL.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
And now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Sinclair will come across. Chris keeps it out in front of himself. Stolen though by Crouch for the Saints. Gives it off to Marshall. He'll go long. In good position. Higgins. Diving mark. 9 goals in the last fortnight. And he kicks the drop pump through the middle.
Still out for Mitchell. Hand passes back to Hoskin Elliott for the Pies. Stabs it inside forward 50. Mychek got away from his opponent and he takes the mark. He's a 4-time leading goal kicker for the Mychek's kicks on the way. He gives them the goal that the Magpies needed. Put it to the top of the goal square. Big pack up. Marshall got hands to it first. Couldn't mark. Spills out the side. It comes from Chris. Gave it to McCreary. Snapped around the body. Terrific goal to give the Magpies the lead. 2 kicks from goal, right half forward. Wheels back onto his left. Kicks inside the attacking 50. Oh, good mark. Nicely worked from this young man with so much promise, Matthias Philippou. He's running at a goal a game in his career so far. This is his 5th game. He's been now able to kick his 6th goal from 45 metres out on an angle to the right. Matthias Philippou kicks a much-needed one for St Kilda.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
And now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Good you could be with us wherever you happen to be around the nation. Gather round, wrapping up for 2023. And we now know after the announcement from the SA Premier and the AFL CEO at the start of this game, it'll be here for another 3 seasons. Collingwood lead this one, though, over the Saints by 1 point, 4-4-28 to St Kilda 4-3-27. We've some more news for you, a few other bits and pieces in just a moment. But before all that, let's get the numbers that matter with Ben Cameron. Ben.
St Kilda have had a little more of the footy, 217 disposals overall to 196. A lot of the numbers pretty even, though. The marks, St Kilda 60 to 51. Marks inside 50, Collingwood 6 to 4. The tackles, Collingwood 27 to St Kilda 24. Contested possessions, as it stands at the moment, +9 the way of St Kilda. The clearances are +8 for St Kilda. The inside 50s, Collingwood 31 to St Kilda 26. Leading ball winners, Nick Dacos. He just continues to find the footy. 21 disposals, 14 kicks, already 420 metres gained. Jack Sinclair, the All-Australian halfback, has 19, battle with 18. Brad Crouch with 16. Matthias Philippou too, a homecoming for him. He's had 14 disposals through to half-time.
News from the match review officer. As the umpires make their way back out onto the ground, we're still waiting for both teams. The lights are in, well, starting to take full effect, it should be said, here in Adelaide. Zach Merritt is the big one, of course. Collingwood and Essendon on Tuesday, the Anzac Day game. Zach Merritt has been reported for rough conduct against Tom Sparrow from Melbourne. Fourth quarter of yesterday's game, it was graded careless, medium and high, so he's been offered a one-match ban. So potentially missing out on the Anzac Day game. Now those Angus Brayshaw against Sam Draper for tripping has been offered a fixed financial sanction of $1,500 and $1,500 too to Dylan Williams for tripping Mitch Hannon of the Western Bulldogs last night. Liz Walsh is with us downstairs. She's been keeping an eye on everything, the conditions and how the ground is holding up after all the rain yesterday. Liz, what can you tell us? Nothing at the moment is what Liz can tell us, but I'm sure she'll have plenty to say when we get back down to her very shortly. Mick Malthouse, Luke Ball, what happens from here on?
I did hear a whisper about McStay's injury.
Yes.
Not good.
What is it?
It's a tendon.
Tendon.
Now, if he's ruptured the tendon in a finger, that means the tendon actually slides down the finger, so you've got to then get a operation where they catch it and bring it back and hook it back where it belongs. I think that's between 4 and 8. Now, I know it's broad, but generally it's around 6 weeks because they've got a plaster. No, well, you put a splint on it for a number of weeks so that it doesn't move. So you lose a bit of touch, you hold your fitness, but I suspect that's another tool that the Pies won't have.
Yep. So that'll, of course, be immediately felt when Anzac Day rolls around.
Yep.
Liz Walsh downstairs, we just heard about the tendon injury to Dan McStay. Is that the official word as well from the Magpies?
That's right, guys. It's the official word from Collingwood. I'm sorry I missed the call down here before. A friend came up to say hello, and so I took my cans off accidentally.
This is not a social day. Come on,
I did
Liz.
say to her, I'm working. I'm a professional here.
You're entitled to fresh air, Liz, after we did before the game to you. So that's probably fair enough. I think we won all. Protest.
It's just the joy of gather round, isn't it? That everyone's just here. But look, one of the things that I think is really impressive down here at ground level, is the crowd. You can hear them behind me. I think we'll be getting more than 35,000 here tonight. But one of the things you also get a sense of at ground level is just the quality of the grass here and how well it's holding up. Given the fact that we're now 6 games in 4 days, it just is glistening down here at ground level.
Need a bonus payment to groundskeepers after this weekend, because that was severely tested yesterday, wasn't it? I mean, how many mils of rain was there?
Yeah.
Well, goodness knows, there was plenty, and it's come up an absolute treat. Cannot see one patch of dirt anywhere.
Damien Hoff, I'm pretty sure it is. Damien Hoff will be pretty happy with his work and
tip the hat to him.
Out of his team. He's done an outstanding job to have this ground holding up. The overall round, a great success, as we've mentioned a number of times. It's coming back for the next 3 years.
I think I read this morning that they're projecting around about 80 to 85 to 90 million has come in
after a 15 mil outlay.
We think that, don't we?
Yeah.
So by my maths, Benny, that's about a 6 times.
It's good ROI, Bally.
Oh, for 4 days.
Yeah. 6-bagger. We like that.
That's it.
Back in the middle. Collingwood leading by a point at the half. The second half is underway. Marshall slaps it down, going after it. There is Crouch. He gathers the footy. Handball away to Wood. Gives it to Clark. First inside 50 of the half for the Saints. Just a shallow entry going after it. Burns right there with him, side bottom. Slaps it away from the attacking 50 for the Saints. Picking it up, Maynard. Look out. Just gets a handball away to side bottom to McCreery. Racing down the western wing, McCreery. He'll kick towards Myercheck and he'll mark it half forward for the Pies.
Myercheck, goal kicker in the first half for the Magpies. His boots are beyond the boundary. He looks inboard. Collingwood by a point. Putting it towards full forward. Big defensive mark again. They've been outstanding.
It's like a net down there.
Wilkie, every time it goes near him, Wilkie says thank you and more at the other end. And they look to bring it away through Wilkie.
Pies need more from Ash Johnson and young Wilson down there. It's just got to come to ground. Okay, he's a terrific player. We know that. It's just got to find a way. Screw your guts up, find a way to make a contest.
Well, you're spot on, Paulie. It's much harder to mark than it is to spoil. Just spoil the ball.
Filippo kicks the Saints towards half forward. Cordy gathers at the back of the pack. Handball out in front of Hill. Can't quite gather it. Out of play it goes. And a throw in right at the junction of the 50 and the boundary line, right half forward for the Saints.
Had a real chance then, Hill. It just drops the ball. It just appears an easy ball to get. Worries about the pressure coming to him.
Umpire spins it back in. Frampton and also Marshall both miss it. And trying to knock it on his Wood. Loose footy going after it. Sinclair tries to hack it out of midair. Fresh airy. Chris can pick it up for the Pies. Fires a handball to Noble, who goes all the way back to Murphy. He'll kick long to the wing. Myercheck can't mark. Loose footy on the wing.
Keep your feet.
McCreary does. He gathers, kicked around the body, leading out to mark. Beautifully done, Hoskin Elliott. Could have gone short if he'd wanted to immediately to Elliott's. Instead, that's ignored. He's going to put it to the top of the goal square, you'd think. Well, he does. St Kilda have the numbers here. They outnumbered Johnson 3-1, and Wood takes the mark.
Sorry, Clint. They're going to have to resort to something else here. Maybe the old Richmond dirty ball, grubber ball inside 50, because any ball with any air in it is just going to be marked by the Saints defenders at the moment.
Wood kicks to a pack at left half back. Attacking it was Murphy. Won it to ground. Trying to get out after it again is Hoskin Elliott. And Hoskin Elliott wobbles it out of bounds on the full.
I've seen St Kilda players arguing with or suggesting to the umpire that was incorrect disposal. It was totally incorrect disposal. If you've got the football and you make a play and you don't get your foot to it, that's incorrect disposal.
Saints move it back into the right back pocket. Here's Marshall handing it off to Wilkie. They move it forward again.
Kicks out in front of Gresham, who marks and goes. Kicks a high ball in the Cordy direction. Murphy comes across to cover, spoils it down. Nick Dacos onto the loose footy. A bizarre kick. Sort of check-sided it across the defensive edge of the square. McCreary makes it look okay. Handball low to Noble. Has to pick it up. Gets it off the side bottom. Time to steady. He'll kick for a target in Myercheck. On the bounce, Myercheck gathers. Handball to Mitchell is good. Handball towards Crisp. Sets him a task. Getting involved now is Marshall. He goes in and gets it. He's tackled to ground. Ball comes out. Umpire lets them play. Mitchell for the Pies to Nick Dacos.
And he goes inside forward 50, leading out. Elliott got hands to it, couldn't mark. Adams at the back. Hand passes to Frampton. Frampton can steady. He'll kick. He'll miss. Oh, it was there for him. And he puts it to the right for a minor score. Doubles the Magpies' advantage, though. 4-5-29 to 4-3-27. Nearly 4 minutes gone in the third.
This going here, the Pies, Mick. They are right for the picking. The Saints are ever going to get them. They are right for the picking here.
Wanganeen Miller up. Has to spin after the kick in. Receiving it on the bounce, and a strong mark by the rising star of last week, Mitch Owens. Now he's called to play on. Owens runs straight into the Noble tackle. Sweeps a handball infield. Away to Stocker, who goes back to Wanganeen Miller. Up to Clark. A little fumble. Ginnivan just toe pokes it to Noble for the Pies. Now Pendlebury. Handball misses the target. Ross is onto it. Gives it to Sinclair. Stripped of it there by Crisp. Pies get it again. Pendlebury spins in a tackle. Handball to Ginnivan. He's tackled quickly. It's heating up after half time. And we'll get a ball up, attacking edge of the square.
Well, I thought we saw enough turnovers in the first half. There's doubles in this quarter. And the umpires will let it go too.
Frampton in front. The telling tap. Clark dived on top of it. Mitchell wraps it him up, holding the ball. Free kick the way of Mitchell. Mitchell has it. Will kick long inside the forward 50. Big fly came from Myercheck to the side. Spilled down Wanganeen Miller. It's kicked. Ping back towards Hoskin Elliott. Desperate stuff for St Kilda here. Hoskin Elliott emerges with it. Kicks straight up and down in the elevator shaft. They all wait underneath it. Howard got a fist to it. Bumps it through for a minor score. Rush behind. 4-6-30 for St Kilda's 4-3-27. 6 gone in the third.
Liz, can I ask you from downstairs point of view, has the dew start to settle on the ground? Because from up here, it looks like there's a lot of ball handling errors. And it suggests to me that the ball's damp. Is that fair to say?
Sure, it would be damp on the side here. I'm not quite sure what it would be in the middle of the ground, but definitely there's dew around.
Wanganeen Miller kicks out towards the wing, and Noble goes up and marks. Another turnover.
I don't think the dew caused that. Really, that's just a poor kick.
Noble tries to get it off to Mitchell. The Saints turn it over. Crouch. Handball forward. Clark sweeps a handball. Philippo didn't get the bounce he needed. And then Moore gets involved for the Pies. Shovels it out to Pendlebury. Quickly back the other way. Through the hands of Johnson. Out the back. Chris
Jamie.
coming out. Elliott. He gathers. Handball away. There's a free kick. It's going to go the way of the Pies.
Lucky Jamie Elliott.
Oh, both of them are.
He's had a quiet day, so you can understand him wanting to get his hands on the footy, but he had Chris running the other way, running towards goal. He had to clear the path.
Yeah, make way. Exactly right, Paulie.
Just mistakes galore at the moment, isn't it?
So Elliott will get the free kick. The mark set 47 metres out.
These two didn't get the memo, did they, that this was supposed to be the showpiece game to finish the round.
Wants to go into the pocket. Myercheck leading and marking. 25 out, a metre in from the boundary line.
Smart play by Elliott, because most would have expected a kick to the goal line. Wilkie was setting himself for the goal line, and Myercheck smart enough too to make sure that he gave an option.
To extend the Pies' lead to what would be a game-high 9 points. Myercheck from the pocket, bends it home brilliantly. His second, and the Pies are out by 9. 5-6-36 to 4-3-27. As I said, it's a game-high lead for Collingwood 8 minutes into the third term.
It doesn't appear a 9-point game, and I know that doesn't sound much in today's football. I mean, we've just seen GWS come back from a 9-point deficit and win the game, but Collingwood make more of their opportunities. St Kilda, for some reason or another, they look good until they get to the middle, and they're fumbling and they option taking, and they get a couple of bad bounces. Admittedly, there's been a couple of bad bounces that just haven't gone their way. But when they get to the middle of the ground, they're kicking inside the front 50. They virtually find Darcy Moore, or they find another backline player. They just can't clear the ball properly into their line.
From the restart, one down by Marshall. He gathered it himself and kicks St Kilda to right half forward. Butler tries to trap it. Couldn't. Umpire has picked the free kick up here anyway. Comes back to Butler.
It's his third possession. Been pretty quiet, Dan Butler. He's been in good form. Been hitting the scoreboard. Been well held by John Noble today.
Noble gives away that free kick. Butler kicks towards full forward. Big fly. Caminiti almost got there. School down to Quaynor. Gives it to Chris for the Magpies. He turns it over. Looking for Noble. Backing back with it. Wood. Good mark for him. 50 from goal. A metre in from the boundary at right half forward.
I don't know what that wind's doing, but this is gettable by him, because he is a 50-plus metre. He's going to have to go 50-plus, but across his shoulder, he might be slightly into the breeze. That might pull him up a bit.
Kicking to the scoreboard end. Lights starting to take full effect. Here is Mason Wood. From bang on 50, he puts it to the right. This is narrow, minus score. 4-4-28 St Kilda, 5-6-36 the Saints. 9.5 gone in the third. Grandstand AFL.
Moore with the kick in, short to the pocket. Marked by Maynard, who goes short to Josh Dacos. I'm not making excuses for the Pies. I'll come back to that. As Dacos goes long towards the wing, Myercheck caught behind, fists it out. I'm not making excuses for the Pies, but it seems like a virus has gone through the club this week. That's the goalie's out.
Yeah,
McRae was sick during the week.
Well, Hoskin Elliott was supposed to miss.
Hoskin Elliott had a virus. Yeah, I just wonder whether they're a bit flat.
I think it's maybe because it affects their leg to kick.
Yeah, I'm not making excuses for the turnover.
It's probably both. Yeah. No, I reckon you're right. It's probably leg to vision.
Butler kicks inside 50 for the Saints, and Caminiti. Touch play on. Touch play on. Oh, no! The umpires then paid the mark.
Ball up now. There's 4 of you out there. Come together. What's happened here? Was it touched?
So one umpire said touched. One paid the mark. Caminiti heard the touch. He went to play on. Then the other umpire came in and said, no, I've paid the mark. You can take your kick.
Now, no, I think the touch came from the Collingwood players, because if one umpire called touch, then they ball this up.
Yes, that's right.
And ball it up. So,
you know what the touch come from? The man in front, Moore's hand. No, that's a mark every other week.
I think the Collingwood players are signalling that it came off, touched off the boot. But
Caminiti needs to unwrap the gift. He does so duly. St Kilda bring it back to a 2-point game. Collingwood 5-6-36. St Kilda 5-4-34. It's a 2-point ball game at the 11-minute mark of the third term, and maybe a tad lucky there, the Saints.
Well, I don't know if well, you debate that one, but it's very interesting that when you've got 2 goals coming, I think it's the last 2 goals coming from marks inside their forward line against who I regard as one of the best defenders in the game, is Moore and Murphy and so forth. So their last 2 goals, it's interesting that they've actually elected to kick the ball in and been marked by, the first one was Phillipou, yeah.
Well, it was nowhere near anyone's hand off the boot of Dan Butler. So I don't know what the Collingwood players are talking about.
No, and there wasn't a touch from Moore either. That's a dead set mark. Right decision eventually. In the middle of the ground. Saints will get it away through Crouch. Hand pass to Rossred. Straight into trouble. Should have been incorrect disposal how he got rid of that, but it spills out towards Josh Dacos. Kicks inside forward 50. Almost a terrific mark there to Myercheck. The Saints can emerge with it. Trying to work it out beyond their defensive 50. The kick comes from Crouch. He'll kick towards centre wing. Moore again with the spoil from behind. Good tackle. Wrapping up Markov and taking him over the boundary line. The Saints made sure that wasn't coming out. We've got a throw in at the interchange gates.
So he's got so much pace, Moore, to get to those. That was a mark. It was a good kick, but he just made up his mind he's going to spoil that. 2 best players, probably Darcy Moore and Wilkie.
Owens affected the tackle. We restart again. Front position, Cordy. Won it down for St Kilda. Getting back there first. Josh Dacos picks it up, gives it to Chris for the Magpies. Went one way, then the other. Puts boot to ball, heading in the direction of right half forward. Was there for Hoskin. Elliott gathered and kicks out of bounds on the full. Was under pressure as he got the kick away. But a free kick nonetheless for St Kilda at left half back. They trail by 2 points, the Saints. 5-6 plays 5-4. 13 gone in the third.
Ben, were you suggesting that Hoskin Elliott may well have been rested or managed because of his illness, and now he's come back in the side?
That was why he was meant to have been managed.
Because of management.
Yep. Kick downfield here. Murphy was put down by Caminiti behind the ball, 80 metres away.
McCreary will get the free kick at half forward for the Pies. How costly will it be? Side bottom into the pocket, trying to find Elliott. Spoilt beautifully by the wall of Wilkie again. Crouch gives it off to Battle, and Battle will kick towards Windhager. Spoiled out of play. We'll throw in.
Or isn't that umpire was dead set going to go, that's too high. So,
gee, Wilkie's been good. Yeah. Even then, just right up the backside of Jamie Elliott.
Yeah, him and Moore both are controlling the game from both ends.
Umpire brings it back in. Johnson in the ruck, works his way to the front, brings it down in front of Cordy. Then picked up by side bottom for the Pies. Floats it into the pocket, and Bobby Hill bobs up and marks. Right forward pocket. He'll go back and kick from about 30 metres out.
What makes good forwards dangerous is one-on-one contests. If they just rely on ground ball or just rely on marking only, that's a very, very good one-on-one marking contest that he won. Makes them very dangerous players.
To reinstate a little bit of buffer for the Pies. Bobby Hill puts it through the middle. He's got a couple. And Collingwood's lead back out to 8 points. 6-6-42 plays 5-4-34. Quarter hour mark of this third term grandstand AFL. Mick Malthouse, Luke Ball.
Well, we'll go down as a stoppage goal, Mick. It's still Sidebottom, who's just coming into the game a bit now with his experience. It's his 4th possession for the game, 120 metres game. So he's recognising the situation that maybe time for finesse is over and let's try and get some territory. He was playing that wing role, wasn't he, off the back of the stoppage? Potentially the St Kilda coaching staff won't be happy with that. There was no forward coming up to round him up. He was in way too much space. Threw the ball onto the left foot. Got a nice deep entry to a one-on-one, which didn't give Wilkie the chance to come over and support. And you're right, clever mark by Hill and a nice finish.
You just joined us on Grandstand AFL, ABC Radio, Sport Digital and streaming on the ABC Listen app. Gather round, the final game of the round. It'll be here for 3 more years. Chance for Collingwood to get the clearance through Taylor Adams. Kicks towards centre half forward. Here's McCreary marking, attacking edge of the centre square for the Pies. Looks for a lead. There's one on short from side bottom. That's ignored. He'll put it towards full forward. Big pack there. Comes off the hands of Howard. Out after it, Ross. Awkward bounce, but he got there and gave it to Patton for the Saints. Kicked around the body, waiting underneath it. Quaynor leapt up to gather, tackled immediately as soon as he got anywhere near it. He was wrapped up by Butler and taken to ground. It'll be a ball up.
Really liking Bo McCreary's game. back in his home state. Not a high possession winner usually, but he's had 5 this quarter already. Leads all comers.
Taken by the Saints. Marshall hurries the kick towards the outer side. There again is Moore, who's been super busy. Gave it on to Nick Dacos, and now Chris will kick up in the air. Inside forward 50. Flying Wilkie. He has been immense. Absolutely immense tonight, Callum Wilkie for the Saints. Takes another defensive mark. They still trailed by 8 points, 16.5 gone in the third.
He's got 9 of them. He kicks it towards Moore, who takes another mark. Oh, those two, they've been amazing. Moore's 7th.
Intercepts, defenders united, just kicking it to each other, padding their stats.
Yeah.
Actually, Josh Battle's taken 11 too. I dare say some of those have been uncontested, but yeah, that has been the story of the day, hasn't it?
Moore to Maynard, who goes short to Johnson. The Pies at left half forward.
I don't know why the Saints now set up a lot of backline, a lot of players inside the back 50. Comes out, they've got no representation.
Myercheck flying in the pocket, off his hands, out of play. Throw in left forward pocket.
I reckon the Saints really need it now. They've lost shape on their forward line, and that's going to keep coming back at them. They've got to back their players in the back half, so when the ball comes out, they've got forwards in position.
Welcome to those of you joining us in New South Wales, ACT and Queensland from the NRL on Sport Digital and on the app. Collingwood taking on St Kilda. Collingwood leading by 8 points. Loose footy in the forward pocket here for the Pies. Ginnivan trying to keep it in. He can't. And we'll get another throw in. So 40 metres around from the attacking goal here for Collingwood.
Found it going reasonably tough, Jack Ginnivan. Had a couple of opportunities and did some good defensive work early, but just the 6 possessions.
Boundary umpire unfills. Coming up at the back, Johnson giving away the free kick. Come back into Marshall.
Yeah, I think because he had his hand on his shoulder, it's interesting, as a non-ruckman, you're going to get free kick probably more because the umpires look at you more.
He's like, if that was a marking contest, that would be okay.
Yeah.
All the time. Saints go from full back. Oh, dangerous kick towards Burns. Side bottom. Spoils well. Spills to Myercheck from 49 out. He kicks towards goal. Desperate touch on the line. That was absolutely going through. Had Battle not been able to stick his hand out there. And he sees it as just a minor score. 6-7 43 to 5-4 34.
And 13 to 5 inside front 50s. That's telling you a lot about this game.
Yep. The pendulum of this match absolutely with Collingwood at the moment. Long kick from Wilkie towards the wing. And the mark paid in the end to Johnson. They're on the wing for the Pies. He's high flying. He almost stayed down to take that one in the pack. Goes short to Wilson in the number 12 jumper made famous by Luke Ball at the Pies. He's got it on the wing. He'll kick.
Banks might have something to say about that.
He'll kick long inside attacking 50. No one able to take the mark. Marshall gets the loose footy. Kicks it into the backside of his teammate. Spills to Crouch. Straight into the handball of Ross. He just gets it out. No holding the ball call. Now Marshall goes in again. Ross is sore too. Held in, ball up. 30 out from the Pies goal.
Oh, he got away with one there. Seb Ross had plenty of opportunity to dispose of that. The pressing here, the Pies.
Throwing up. Oh, taking it out of mid-air. Johnson threw it on the boot. Misses to the left. Wasn't far away for Ash Johnson. Pies keep just peppering away. 6-8 44. They now lead by 10 though. St Kilda 5-4 34. And we're gone into time on in the third term.
Really dominating the ball, the Pies. The stats are roughly the same. That's why they're so misleading stats, because all the St Kilda stats are all back half stats, hardly hitting the forward line. There's no movement now.
The only one that gives it away, 14 to 5 inside 50.
Yeah, but they're not scoring though, are they? They're finding a way to hold up the Saints. So if they can do that, they've absorbed a few punches here from the Pies.
Yeah.
If that virus kicks in the last quarter, we know the Saints are a good running team.
And what about how they were woken up last night too?
Yeah,
the
sirens.
hotel, the sirens.
Sure, I recall those. Every time we stayed here, there seemed to be way too much traffic on a Saturday night as we were trying to get some sleep.
It's an eventful hotel that where they were staying. A few incidents there as the ball back in play, sweeping handball from Dacos to Noble, and he's wrapped up quickly. We'll get a ball up in the middle.
Well, at least the Saints now have got a balance in their forward line, 3v3. So if it comes out now, at least they've got a chance. Beforehand, Pies just got that extra play behind. Side bottom will seep back, which he's doing right now. And interestingly, their winger is going, Saints winger is going with him. So I think they're trying to balance up the numbers.
Pies by a game-high lead. They're out by 10. Marshall knocks it to the outside. Stocker goes onto the football for the Saints. Handball away to Ross. Handball to Crouch. Has a runner on the outside. Gets it out to him, Windhager. Steps around McCreary. McCreary comes again. Doesn't give up on the play. Gets the tackle in. And now Mitchell will get onto the footy for Collingwood and earn a high free kick. McCreary stuck to his task and his team will get the footy as a result. Mitchell with a free kick.
They haven't worked out McCreary yet. He's got expected gadget arms, and when they lock, they don't get past him. So it was a really silly move by the Saint player.
Mitchell for the Pies towards left half forward. Spills down off hands. St Kilda should be able to clear away, but they turn it straight over. Down the throat of Dacos. Kicks inside forward 50. Trying to get a punch away then. Wanganeen Millerer. Spills across half back. Here's Burns once more for the Saints. Has time to wheel around. He'll kick towards the commentary wing. Moore will get there first. Sees it over the boundary line for a throw-in.
Now Moore started that inside the back 50. Read the play. He took that ball out on the wing. That's how well he can get there. Well, he's actually now run off the ground. That's probably why what he's doing. He's now on the interchange. But that was saved again by Moore.
He's covered a heap of ground today. Deserves to sit down for a moment. Johnson got worked out from under this. Marshall won it to ground. Pendlebury goes onto the ground where he's tackled by Marshall and the ball's held in on the logo. Ball up. Collingwood's lead 10 points. 23 minutes gone now in the third. Ball to be thrown aloft. Marshall and Frampton. Frampton won it down, but then Marshall just thumped it forward. Sat there for Josh Dacos. Goes back to Maynard. Kicks the Pies down the wing. Oh, almost a good defensive mark to battle. He lost it, got it back, and then he kicks towards left half forward, waiting for it. Butler, who marks for the Saints.
And got nothing to kick to.
No, he's got to wait. So just waits. 2 kicks from home. He sets it up towards a warmish sort of spot. Big pack forms. Coming down with it, Owens, I reckon, in the end.
Wow. 4 umpires didn't see a mark.
So we'll get a ball up. Lots of hands on it. Frampton backhands it down. 20 out from the Saints goal. Hunter Clark goes in. Stands up in a tackle. We'll try again. Collingwood lead by 10 points. 23 played in the third.
Gee, it looked like a mark on the replay. As Clark shovels it out the back for the Saints. Ross, clever, just tapped it to Patton. Puts St Kilda into the right forward pocket. Wanted Gresham leaping over the top of a prone player. And then a great effort, Markov. He was down. Wood went over him, tried to get a kick away. Markov spoiled. Ball still to be won. Taken by Chris for Collingwood. Clever slap over the shoulder by Ginneman. Onto it quickly, Nick Dacos. Hand passes forward. He wanted to try and Myercheck, couldn't quite get there. Ginneman backs up now with Myercheck. Ducks one tackle. Went straight into Patton. Got a hand pass out. Collingwood through Ginneman. Kicks inside forward 50. Flying Hill got hands onto it. Knocked it down to Stocker. Now to Sinclair. He'll pause and give it to Wilkie. And Wilkie finds Higgins beyond defensive 50 at left half back.
He gives it to the run of Hill, who has to stop prop. Bite off a kick into the middle. Dangerous. Overshoots the target of Windhager. They've got numbers though. Ross shovels out a handball to Clark. Straight to a teammate under pressure in Patton. Now they get it moving forward again, the Saints. Wood gathers. He's in space. He'll chip it over the top. Caminiti marks. Runs in. Puts it through. The Saints come again through Caminiti's second. It's back to 4 points. 6-8-48 the Pies. Sorry, 6-8-44 the Pies. St Kilda 6-4-40. 25 minutes played in the third.
High risk, high reward, wasn't it? The kick back inside in the middle. Almost chopped off by Oleg Markov, who came forward as the Pies tend to do and left plenty of Saints players out the back. And again, it wasn't pretty. Great bit of vision by Hunter Clark as to see Mason Wood out on his own and throw it on the left boot. And then Caminiti and he had Jack Higgins, did he? Oh no, Greg Gresham also on his own.
That would have been good for Gresham to get a kick.
Yeah, that's right. But against the flow, really, against the momentum of the game, the Saints get a crucial goal.
But as we spoke about, Paulie, they will get goals kicked out the back of them for Collingwood.
Collingwood going forward. Adams got taken high. It comes to Josh Dacos. Moves it to Markov. Heads towards the hot spot. Flying Johnson front position. Couldn't mark. Spills down to Patton. Tackled immediately. Umpire will ball it up. At left full forward for the Magpies, who still lead by 4 points.
7-17, Clint, inside 50s. So it's remarkable that the Saints are still in the game.
Marshall takes clean possession. Another get away from Frampton. Bounces a kick towards right half back. Nick Dacos is there. Gave it to Josh. 55 out from goal towards full forward off the hands of Myercheck at the back. It came to Howard of the Saints. On to Wanganeen Miller. Clearing kick beyond defensive 50 to right half back. More stretch. Couldn't get there. Quaynor could. Gathered at the drop. Here's Nick Dacos again. Puts the Magpies back inside forward 50. Pendlebury dropped it. McCreary might have got in the way. Came back to McCreary. He puts it towards full forward. Slapped through Wilkie and Battle were right there. And it's gone across for a minus score to the rights. Goodness me, Wilkie with that spoil. He's been everywhere. The Magpies by 5 points, 27 gone in the third.
19 inside 50s. The high ball's just not working though, Mick. I think they seriously need to think about just the grubber ball, the chaos ball inside 50 to bring their small players into the game.
Crouch handball around the wing for St Kilda. Marshall slaps it back to the boundary. Out of play it goes.
That's a classical one there where the Saints had 3v1 and it was just bad luck. It was just the tap, the ball ran on, normally it sits up. That's 2 or 3 times the Saints have been left with a ball that's there when they outnumber the opposition. So it's not as bad, some of these turnovers, as they appear.
Marshall brings it down. Stealing it though, Pendlebury. Handball towards Elliott. Handball to Crisp. On the overlap. Now looks inside 50. Great kick. Pulls it back at right angles. And Johnson marks unopposed. 45 out. Slightest of angles to the left-hand side.
It's a great kick. It's not quite what I was talking about, but the long kick down the line there, you had Wilkie, you had Howard queuing up. Just smart enough, Jack Crisp, who's got better as the game's gone on, to see Ash Johnson on the side of his vision and pull the ball back over across his body. Really smart kick.
One of the SA boys out there. Played for Sturt in the Sandford, back home. The kick is a little high. Went with the 9-iron when he needed the 7, and he's missed to the left-hand side of behind.
Or he used a putter. Does that mean I know a lot about
Texas wedge, Mick, from off the green?
Well, he actually had a little bit more room. He had probably 2 or 3 metres he could have gone further on. And you've got to use the man on the mark now as a goalpost. You've got to run around him.
Wanganeen Miller up for the Saints towards right half back. Frampton brought it to ground. It sat there for Josh Dacos. Goes back by hand to Nick Dacos. Pops it inside the centre square. Here's Pendlebury. Well, Luke Ball is calling for the Texas wedge to be put inside forward 50, the grubber. Let's see what happens. Comes to Quaynor, marking it left half forward.
Now, this is a basketball situation at 39 seconds. You've got a chance to score here. Don't let the opposition get it.
Quaynor decides to go long and high again inside forward 50. Myercheck, did he mark? No. Out of bounds on the full.
Well, there's a wasted 8 seconds of wasted technically, but you've also wasted by giving the opposition the ball.
Well, it's a symptom now, isn't it, of how dominant the Saints defenders have been in the air. That's how wide they had to go.
Yeah. Well, it's 21-7 inside 50s, and the Saints are still in there.
Clark takes the kick. Long high ball towards the wing. Moore brings it down in front. Pendlebury handball a turnover. Ross gets it for the Saints. His kick is straight up and down, and then eventually it bounces away from Quaynor, but the Pies have the numbers. Pendlebury, handball to Crisp. Handball infield. Nick Dacos onto it. Floats it inside 50. Can they get a mark? No. Dougal Howard's back there. And he marks and switches it. Siren sounds. St Kilda's defence bending but not breaking in that third term. 2 goals apiece to each of these sides as Caminiti got both of his goals for the Saints in that second term.
Marks inside your defensive 50 in that term. St Kilda 11-5.
Wow.
That's remarkable. We talk about the inside 50s, which Collingwood dominated 22-7, but 11 marks in their defensive 50-5. Let's quickly go downstairs. Liz Walsh on the boundary.
Now, of course, we're coming up for the last quarter of the gather round, but South Australia's sporting frenzy is continuing, of course, with Live Golf starting in South Australia at the Grange Golf Club on Friday. And I've been shown a photograph that the likes of Cam Smith, Dustin Johnson, Patrick Reed, they're actually all here at the ground watching the game. And there are some just down there at the moment. You might be able to see them from the box having their photo taken. They were able to come and sit on the bench during that third term. See where the golf gets to you.
There you go. That is good, Liz.
Well, we were talking about golf analogies, about trying to get the ball inside forward 50.
Yeah. We must have known. We sensed it, I think.
Is that Phil Mickelson too?
Phil Mickelson. Wouldn't that be something?
Well, he'll be here.
Oh,
he's a live man.
No doubt. But that would be something to have him here. Collingwood lead by 6 points at three-quarter time. 6-10-46 to St Kilda 6-4-40. Wherever you're listening on ABC Radio Sport Digital and, of course, streaming on the ABC Listen app, this is Grandstand AFL.
Hello, I'm Patrick Stack, and if you like great stories and you enjoy sport, then I reckon you need ABC Sport Daily in your life.
People will watch Weird, 100%. If Roman Reigns was to fight John Jones tomorrow, a whole lot of people would watch it.
Ben comes to the NBA at 25, I hardly had a sense of my name.
Andrew Abdo was definitely put in the shade. He only got a few questions.
I'm not sure they'd tell me another one if I told some of the stories.
It's your daily sports conversation, and it's called ABC Sport Daily. Find us on the ABC Listen app.
You're listening to the AFL Gather Round.
Grandstand AFL.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
And now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Elliott will get the free kick. The mark set 47 metres out. Wants to go into the pocket. Myercheck leading and marking for what would be a game-high 9 points. Myercheck from the pocket, bends it home brilliantly. Butler kicks inside 50 for the Saints, and Caminiti, what's he doing? Play on. Touch play on. Oh, no! The umpires then paid the mark.
Ball up, and there's four of you out there. Come together. What's happened here? Was it touch?
So one umpire said touched, one paid the mark. Caminiti needs to unwrap the gift. He does so duly. Picked up by side bottom for the Pies, floats it into the pocket, and Bobby Hill bobs up and marks. The reinstate, a little bit of buffer for the Pies. Bobby Hill puts it through the middle. They've got numbers though. Ross shovels out a handball to Clark, straight to a teammate under pressure in Patton. Now they get it moving forward again, the Saints. Wood gathers, he's in space, he'll chip it over the top. Caminiti marks, runs in, puts it through. The Saints come again.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
And now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Earlier today here at Adelaide Oval, Geelong beat West Coast by 47 points. And at Norwood Oval a short time ago, the Giants won a thriller by 2 points over Hawthorn. It's close here as well. The final game of Gather Round, Collingwood lead by 6 points, 6-10-46 to St Kilda, 6-4-40. Let's get the thoughts of our experts, Mick Malthouse and Luke Ball.
There's some amazing stats. Again, we don't like to talk too much about stats, but at right now, inside 50s is Collingwood 53. 53, but remember that they've had 16 scoring shots. So you work that out percentage-wise, it's very much below the 50, which any side would like to have. Above 50 above, you're generally doing pretty well. The Saints had 33 for 10, so they're gone, at 33%. So right now, all the indicators are, if the game goes on like this, it'll be a matter of time before Collingwood will start to grab the football in their forward line as opposed to getting it outmarked. So what the Saints have to do, they've got a dominant ruckman, but they're not dominating the stoppages. And they have to clear the stoppages. And then, when that ball does go anywhere near the front half, the Saints have got to keep the ball in there and not kick it to Moore, who will spoil everything, or Murphy, or these sort of players. On the other side of the coin, it's almost like a mirror. You've got Wilkie marking everything, Sinclair running the ball out, no different than, say, Nick Dacos or Josh Dacos. Battle's doing a great job, no different than, say, Murphy. Maynard's there doing a good job across the back line, no different than Sev Ross. Frampton has had 14 tap-outs. Marshall's had 25, but not all are clearance ones. The stat line is heavily in favour of Collingwood in their front 50, and that has to improve for the Saints, otherwise this will die a natural death by halfway through it. Paulie?
Yeah, they're beautifully summed up, Nick. Yeah, I mean, you look at the Pies forward line, obviously no Darcy Cameron, no Mason Cox, and really Dan McStay playing no part in this game whatsoever. So, I wonder, trying to think of ways to get around them. I genuinely think that ball, that grubber ball in, is going to be more advantageous for that Collingwood forward line.
Some of the stats, Ben Cameron.
Leading ball winners, Nick Dacos with 31, Brad Crouch with 25, Josh Dacos 22, Jack Sinclair 22. The standout number, those inside 50s, Collingwood with 53 as it stands at the moment.
And the bounce to restart, final term underway. Marshall got the tap, but it came out to Adams quickly to Crisp. Kicks Collingwood towards left half forward, 2-on-2 battle here. Spills out again. Here's an opportunity for Hill. Bounces it cleverly on turn to Ginnivan, who snaps and goes. There was a young man called Jack Ginnivan. He found himself back in the team again, and he kicks a much-needed goal for Collingwood to give them a little bit of breathing space. Early stages of this, the final term. They're up by 12, 7-10-52 to the Saints, 6-4-40. And Luke Ball, that's just what you wanted.
Yeah, well, it's beautiful clearance work, wasn't it? Adams, a clean hands to Jack Crisp, who's gone into the centre bounce. A grubber kick forward, and Jamie Elliott provided the contest. Great tackle. Bobby Hill, great vision again. That's a really clever underground kick, wasn't it? Bounced up beautifully for Jack Ginnivan, who's been pretty quiet in his first game back, but that's the sort of player he is. He only needs the one or two opportunities at crucial moments to have an impact on the game. Dream start to the last quarter for the Pies.
Yeah, welcome back, Jack. In the middle. From the restart, it's now a game-high 12-point lead to the Pies. Sinclair with the clearance. Bounces it inside 50 for the Saints. Owens leaves it behind. Worrying him out of it is Moore. Picking it up, Butler handballs it into Moore. Moore now trying to pick it up off the deck. And still the play goes on. Josh Dacos eventually to brother Nick by hand. And now away to Maynard, who stabs it short. And Bobby Hill, a part of that mosquito fleet with Elliott and Ginnivan. All of them in long sleeves tonight. He leads up and marks at left half back. Now kicks towards the logo. Myercheck stands up, takes the mark for the Pies.
Here is Myercheck. Thought about going short as Frampton rang by. Pauses and now pops it out towards Josh Dacos, who marks just forward of the wing. He's casts a glance around the ground. Goes on a little run inboard and then puts it inside attacking 50. Oh! Hoskin Elliott went, almost got to it. Spilled it at the last moment. Howard's able to gather it, and then he's tackled the ground. Deep inside forward 50 for the Magpies.
He shocked himself, I think, Hoskin Elliott, because there was no contest with him.
Punching it away, Marshall. Awkward bounce. Comes back inboard again, and then tackled Windhager. Wrapped up, taken down.
He's gone forward, Hoskin Elliott. He's got the battle match up, so providing a bit more contest in the air, you'd think.
Both rucks have a tap, slapped back towards himself by Frampton. The Myercheck releases Crisp deep in the left forward pocket, centering kick. Decent battle here. Hill got a fist to it. Spilled down to Stocker. Broke the Ginnivan tackle. Hand passes forward to Ross. And he'll hand pass it out to Wilkie in the left back pocket. He'll clear to the outer side.
Not his best kick. He'll turn it over. Murphy comes up and gathers for the Pies. Handball to Noble. Handball to Nick Dacos. Long right-footed kick into the pocket. Myercheck. Johnson, take your pick. Johnson in front. He comes down with the footy. In the right forward pocket, the mark set 25 out.
Yeah, Saints were outnumbered down there, and there's a lot of body work just to manoeuvre the St Kilda player under the football, which left an easy mark, but it was because of the numbers they had there.
Well, it was intercept possession, wasn't it, again, from Nathan Murphy. Just reads the play so well.
Collingwood are starting to slowly get into a winning position. Johnson comes in, stabs it through. A point to the heavens. And Collingwood all of a sudden are out by 3 goals. 8-10-58 to 6-4-40. 4 minutes into the fourth term before Luke Ball and Mick Malthouse, Liz Walsh.
Yeah, Jack Bytel is coming into the game as St Kilda have brought in their tactical sub. Looks like Zane Cordy is done for the day.
Well, what are we? 4 minutes into the quarter, Mick, and the guns for Collingwood have put the foot down, haven't they? 17 possessions to 4. So started at that first centre bounce with Adams getting his hands on it, flicking to Crisp, who's lifted. Pendlebury involved. We spoke again about Nathan Murphy, who's having another terrific game.
Yeah, it's like a tidal wave tsunami, if you like. The Saints just can't clear the centre.
And the restart. Brampton favoured him, won it down, then gathers, hand passed over his shoulder. Sinclair tried to get there first. Pendlebury got in his way. Adams gathers, hand passed out towards side bottom. Pies into attack. It comes through Nick Dacos, then out to Noble, to Ginnivan, up against the boundary, just shy of right half forward, bounced it along the ground. Johnson puts it inside forward 50. Elliott probably thought he could have marked it, spilled out. Saints can clear through Marshall, then Howard, kicking to the outer side. Higgins up under pressure from Quaynor. Couldn't mark it. Came down to Noble for the Pies. Back into the right forward pocket. Mychek got hands to it. Spills out again. Battle worked it out towards Wilkie. Kicks back towards the outer side. Quaynor! Good mark. He's up there and has it for Collingwood in front of the Max Bashir stand.
He kicks them back inside, attacking 50. No one there able to take the mark. Coming through. Mychek's driven into the turf. Was he pushed in the back? No. Umpire to ball it up.
Well, his head butted the ground, hasn't he?
Oh, he looks a little worse for wear.
Well, he's just gone face plant.
He's slowly getting up, but...
Well, they're going to have to look at him. Because once you start to take time to get up...
Umpire puts it up. No one able to come away with the footy. Mychek goes in again. He's almost done it again, yeah. Instant replay. He's tackled quickly and we'll get another ball up.
Be careful.
30 out from the Pies' goal.
Sorry, Benny. I feel like he's trying to exaggerate and look for a free kick.
Yeah,
not rolling in the tackle, leading with your head. It's not ideal.
Again, both Rikes had a tap. Ross is over it. Adams looks to lock it in. Still inside forward 50 for the Magpies. We'll ball it up once more.
And this will suit them. Just playing the game in their front half here, able to set up behind the ball. You get Nathan Murphy back there by himself.
Brampton slapping it forward. Awkward bounce for the Saints. Mychek tries to turn. Gathers, runs straight into opponent. Got a hand pass away to Johnson. Hand passes over the shoulder. Oh, party time! Bobby Hill bobbed up again. He's got 3. He socketed it with the outside of the boot. A miraculous finish. He loved it as well. And they'll all go across to thank those involved in the build-up. That was tremendous. Mychek really was suffering after that. They surround him, and now he's in the hands of the trainers as well. Collingwood's lead 24 points. 9-10-64 to 6-4-40.
Well, Benny, I want to catch that virus because clearly it just gives you outstanding energy.
Well, we don't know who's had it, Mick. Maybe Bobby Hill was okay.
Well, maybe, but
yeah.
Well, maybe their back line hasn't got it because the ball hasn't gone down there. They haven't been tested, but it's they do treat you differently, those things, those viruses. So
they look like they're running out the game just fine, don't they?
Well, they've gone from 6 points to 3 goals in front, and the ball has not gone into the Saints. Well, it has once. I don't know how. I can't remember it.
Marshall wins the tap down. Adams with the clearance, though. Off hands, it comes down. Onto it quickly is Bartel. Now Marshall tumbles it towards half forward. Well gathered there by Windhager. Handball over the shoulder. Pinched by Nick Dacos. Kicks to brother Josh. Boy, they wax a lot, the Dacos brothers, don't they?
How's his ball handling then, though? It was like a basketball. Bounced it to himself.
Quite brilliant. Quaynor and also Mitchell. Handball away to Nick Dacos. Back to Josh Dacos. They're doing it again. His kick under pressure. A turnover, though. And Marshall will tumble it towards half forward for the Saints.
Yeah, you're looking behind here. 2 Saints. No Saints in the forward line at all.
Owens kicks into the left forward pocket. Hill marks.
Yeah, well, he's run in there. Collingwood had 2 talls back there, so they had to go very wide. The Pies' defence is fantastic at falling back. And I must say the Saints have done very well in that area too, but it's a contrast here is that the Saints can't clear the centre with it.
You feel this is a must-kick goal for St Kilda. Huge experience, Brad Hill, 3-time premiership player. He'll start about a metre from the boundary, left half forward. Boots cross the 50, sends the kick on its way. Goal umpire steps to their right. It misses. Minor score. Missing to the left-hand side. 9-10-64 to 6-5-41. 9 gone in the last. Tonight's attendance for the 2 games combined, 43,796.
So Dacos with the kick in towards the wing. Frampton going up. He's caught behind. He fists it away. We'll bring you the grand total of the weekend in a moment.
That'd be interesting, won't it? Whatever it is, it's great.
Yeah. It's been an overwhelming success. Umpire spins it back in at right half forward for the Saints. Marshall hooks it to the back, Crouch onto the footy. And he has to knock it away after it's knocked back into his hands. Falls to Burns. Snaps towards full forward. Bouncing ball. Owen soccers it to his own advantage. Now he goes again. The Pies arrive. Windhager to Butler to Hill. Snapping, missing. Are behind. 6-6-42 moves St Kilda. Collingwood 8-10-64. Sorry, 6-6-42. 19-64.
Yeah, Paulie, do you reckon that the next goal, Collingwood's next goal that wins it, if the Saints can get one back and give themselves a little bit of a sniff at it, the game's still alive.
Oh, Moore kicked long beyond defensive 50, and that is a fine mark to battle in a pack of 6. His arms are able to bring it down. He kicks back inside forward 50. Quaynor flew. Marking it fullback for the Magpies. Quickly out towards Ginnivan. In the right back pocket he marks as players stream ahead of him. He'll send it towards the outer wing and sliding through Hoskin Elliott onto his knees. He has it and pauses for a moment.
It's like the way Wilkie played on him. He just let Hoskin Elliott lead up the ground and Wilkie dropped back in case there was a quick play on. I'm not sure. I'd rather stop the ball on the wing than stop it in the back line. So Wilkie, as good as he is, he made a wrong decision then.
Collingwood by 22. As they move it across half back to Maynard, to Quaynor from centre half back, out in the direction of Murphy. There's a decent one-on-one battle here, and Murphy wins it by slapping it away from Burns. Only as far as Josh Dacos. Trying to work it back in against Wood. It's been locked in. Driving over the top of it again, Burns, and Dacos holds it to him and then heads straight off through the interchange gates with Pendlebury right behind him. Got ourselves a ball up centre wing. The Magpies by 22 points, 12 gone in the last.
Saints need the next goal. Marshall brings it down. Mitchell steals it. Back feeds a handball to side bottom. Floater. And eventually it comes down in the hands of the Saints. Clark away to Crouch. Handball back away towards Patton, who gets a high kick up towards the wing. Phillippo camps underneath it. Right there with him is Marshall, off hands, out of play as Owens carries it out. Throw in just forward of the wing for the Saints. They trail by 22.
I know Crouch gets a lot of ball, but doesn't he put players under pressure with a hand pass? He just a blind hand pass instead of a kick. Just murders his teammates.
Ryan went behind both rucks. Now trying to steal this away. So Kilda had it. It's held to them. It's Bytell, who's tackled by Elliott. Umpire says, I'll throw it up. Frampton with the more telling tap down to Rostow of St Kilda to Bytell. Now towards Wanganeen Miller. A great smother came from McCreary, but it spilled out the side. Crouch puts it into the right forward pocket, and well done by Maynard, who got to it. Made sure it was out for a boundary throw-in.
That's better by Crouch. Had the ball. Now the ball's in the half forward line instead of another hand pass under pressure and maybe losing it, which a lot of St Kilda players have today.
Collingwood have kicked the last 3. They lead by 22 from the throw-in. Owens takes it out of the ruck. Kick smothered. Now it pinballs around. Eventually Mitchell out to side bottom. Clears the defensive 50 for the Pies. Oh, here goes Bobby Hill. Runs onto the loose footy. Spirals it inside 50. Getting back the great Waller Wilkie. He gathers for the Saints. Kicks out towards left half back and has a release in Hill.
Hill short to Bytell, the sub who's on the ground. Thought he subbed off, a tactical move, we're told, by St Kilda.
Brilliant play by Wilkie then.
Yep.
And he was chasing. Was it Johnson who chased him down?
Bytell kicks towards the other side. Hoskin Elliott was the other player inside forward 50. Spills down off hands. The Saints have it through Hill. Kicks towards Crouch. Marks and plays on. Sweeps it to Burns inside forward 50. Stepped away from Frampton. Kicks and misses. To the right-hand side. Behinds won't do for the Saints. They move to be 6-7-43. Collingwood 9-10-64. The Magpies lead is 21 points, 13 and a bit gone in the final term. Clint Wilden alongside Ben Cameron in commentary on Grandstand AFL.
They will keep running, Nick, you're right. They will keep running this out. It's probably been a bit of the story of the day, though. Just haven't been able to execute.
Golden chance there from the kick in from Nick Dacos. Off hands, out of play. Another throw in between wing and half forward.
Yeah, you've got to take your chances. Hill marked that 45 metres out. I'm just wondering whether he should have gone back, taken responsibility, had a shot for goal. But again, on the player on the run. But see, Collingwood closed you down so quickly. That's why that kick was spoiled for a point.
21 points, the Pies' advantage. No ruckman there for the Saints. Frampton knocks it back boundary side. Crouch, handball away. And out of play it is. Will go again.
What's happened with their ruckman?
Mitch Owens is going to do the work. Marshall standing on the bench.
Well, who's going to ruck?
Here goes Owens. Opposed to Frampton. Frampton a hand to it. Lays it down straight to Mitchell, who gives it to Sidebottom. Snaps towards the wing. Pack forms. Out the back it goes. Wanganeen Miller onto it for the Saints.
Ball in the middle of the ground. Bursting through. Nick Dacos got a hand pass away to Mitchell. Mitchell sweeps a hand pass forward. Hoskin Elliott knew he couldn't take it. Tapped it in the direction of Elliott, who couldn't gather either. And Patton mops up for St Kilda across half back. He shares it with Owens, then back to Patton, and the kick is moved towards the commentary wing and Butler.
I thought that was used to be 50. I know they say take it where the ball ends up, but that's a disadvantage for St Kilda.
He got knocked over afterwards. Butler with the uncontested mark, now towards right half forward. Big pack up, down towards Owens of the Saints. Looks for Hill, and Hill couldn't take the mark at left half forward. Dropped the uncontested grab, puts it inside forward 50. Spoil came from Markov. Ball's still there for Collingwood. Well done, Crisp. Worked it off again. It comes to Quaynor, kicks to the outer side, chasing out after it. Hill couldn't get there. Markov could again. Followed it up. He's still going, Markov. Tries to soccer off the ground. Not quite what he wanted. Tried to fall over the top of it. They can mop this up, the Saints, and they'll move it short to Ross. Quickly on to Battle. Centre wing outer side.
Oh, his kick smothered. Now Noble going back in. He's on top of the footy and will get a ball up right beneath the Max Bashir stand.
It's an underrated step for mine, Mick. I've always loved to smother. I can picture at least half a dozen tonight where it felt like the Saints were out and not just little, deflections, genuine smothers to stop momentum.
Yeah, but that's your go was that ball. If we had a Lingy here, he'd be saying it's a waste of time. You hurt your body doing that.
Nonsense.
There's sting in the cold as Hill gets a little snap away towards half forward. Spoiled away there by Maynard. Now loose footy, ricochets towards Higgins. Handball to Filippo. Oh, little spin. Oh, the young man. Oh, it would have been so special. It was like a ballerina. He pirouetted. He just couldn't quite kick the check side.
Good luck there. Ball's right out.
So that kicks 4 behinds in this term, St Kilda. They need a goal. They need it desperately. Time ticking away. Only 17 gone in the last. Collingwood's lead remains beyond 3 goals. It's now 20 points. As Sidebottom kicks to a 2-on-2. Left half forward. No mark taken. Howard at the back is able to knock it backwards. And then McCreary wraps up his opponent but gets him a little bit high. And Crouch will get the free kick for St Kilda.
So Crouch knows these areas well. Playing, of course, for the Crows for a number of years before the move to St Kilda. Kicks towards the wings. Off the hands of Frampton. Getting involved, Filippo. Dribbles a little kick. Picked up by Marshall. Now slapped on by Maynard. Might have been a throw, as Mick said. Getting involved. Trying to Adams. He's caught holding the ball. And Wood will get the footy for the Saints.
Yeah, good decision.
Time becoming an enemy. 18 minutes played in the fourth. Dangerous kick from Wood. It's a turnover. Ginnivan slaps it down and gathers. Steals it from Stocker. Snaps on his left. Onto Elliott. On the bounce. Flying shot from 45. Jamie Elliott calls game. He's put the gallant Saints to bed, you would think. 10-10-70. Plays 6-8-44. Collingwood by 26 points, 19 into the fourth.
Yeah, you can't deny the goal. You can't deny the bit of play. I reckon the Saints today would look back and ponder that there were 7 or 8, maybe even more. They'll say 7 or 8 opportunities to clear the football, really clear the football. Hung onto the ball a fraction too late, got it smothered, lost control, and then paid a penalty. So this game might show 4 goals, but I don't think the Saints are 4 goals worse offside than the Pies.
The restart. Going up was Marshall. Beautiful tap down. Riding straight through Ross. Chipped inside forward 50. No able to win it to the ground. Ross following up again. Gave it to Burns. Tried to snap on goal. He's missed the lot. It's bounced across for a boundary throwing.
There's a classical one then, Clint, because you come out of the centre and you kick the ball that high, it's been able to be intercepted. good choice of their short kick, sharp kick, or a sharp hand pass changes that completely.
Throwing left full forward for St Kilda. Rugs go at it. Wonder with a telling tap. Owens had a second go, trying to work it back in towards the corridor. Wood gathered, tackles. The ball being held to him. Wrapped up well by Josh Dacos. Ball up. Still at full forward for the Saints. Here it goes again. Frampton palmed it down. Straight though to St Kilda. Came out towards Ross.
Yep.
He got tackled. Lost possession of the football. Free kick will go the way of Pendlebury.
Yeah, tackle what Pendlebury. He's 47 years of age and he's still doing the things he did at 18.
It's been important too, hasn't he, in the second half? Slow start, only 2 possessions in the first quarter. This will be 21.
Yep.
Collingwood by 26 points into time on in the final term.
11 contested, 5 tackles for the champ.
Pendlebury goes laterally to the young champ.
The young champ, this will be 40.
40 for Nick Dacos. Boy, he can find the footy. He might have a virus, Mick. Leather poisoning.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's Wilson. Handball away to Crisp. He kicks towards the wing. Bouncing ball. Wilkie comes out. Can't quite gather it. Myercheck onto the footy. Handball away to Frampton. Now Mitchell getting involved. Sweeps a handball back to Josh Dacos. Kicks on the left. Looking for Elliott. Going back Howard. He claims the mark. Right on the arc of his defensive 50.
The Pies they just take away the opportunity then to play on. Now that kick there is an insignificant kick.
Howard to Wilkie. That's a better one in the middle of the ground. Defensive edge of the centre square marked by Sinclair for the Saints. Goes looking for Ross. Overcooked the kick. Going the other way. Collingwood able to lock this in. It's Markov who's at the bottom of that. They'll ball it up on the logo out of sight.
Yeah, it's a good call, Mick. They invite that kick, don't they? That 50-50, that if it comes off, it's high reward, but more often than not, they're so quick to pounce on it, the Pies, and react quicker, their defenders, that is.
Marshall punches it forward for St Kilda. They're able to gather it left half forward. Burns then had it knocked out of his grasp. Noble able to pick it up off the ground. Gave it to Pendlebury. Hand pass to Mitchell. Hand pass again to Crisp. He's able to get a short kick that bounces in front of Hill. He's up and about Hill, and then he kicks the left half forward, where it's taken then by Wilson.
Here goes Tom Wilson, the sub today on for McStay. Kicks inside 50. Poor kick. And the mark is taken there for the Saints by Howard, the boy from Wagga. Kicks laterally to Stocker, the former Blue at fullback. His kick just finds Sinclair. Able to take the mark, still in the defensive 50 for the Saints. Kicks out towards the eastern wing to Burns. Handball to Hill running by. Comes infield with his kick. His kick is a good one. Finds Filippo. Gives it off by hand to Ross, who kicks long towards Owens. Plainor just shoves him out, takes the mark.
He's a star, this bloke. He's a star. He gets lost a bit at times with Moore and Maynard down there, but really developing into an A-grade player, Isaac Quainer.
He's got a brother who is his dead ringer, who's playing in the TAC Cup or whatever the moniker is at the moment, who they reckon will get on an AFL list as well.
Noble. Long beyond defensive 50, but out of bounds on the full. St Kilda will have it. Out of wing, just forward of that.
23 this year, 63 games, so still got plenty of upside in him as well.
Here's Brad Hill, decides to take on Johnson. Burnt past him. Ugly kick. That's off a player. Burns was able to get there. His hand pass stolen by Sidebottom. Said thank you very much. It comes to Moore. He kicks towards centre half back. Here's Mitchell. They got players streaming forward. There's a player down in back play. Ben will keep an eye on that as Hill runs it along the ground cleverly off the outside of the boot. Myercheck should have taken it cleaner. Was able to pick it up anyway. Goes in the direction of Elliott. Tries to dive forward. Can't mark. It spills away to Clark. Clark will move it short to Wood. Tries to drag it in at right half back. Still player in stride. Ben, what can you tell us?
Nathan Murphy, and he was down for a long time and did not move. He's coming from the ground now. Looks unwell as Owens gathers on the 50 for the Saints and skids it through. Something for the Saints to go on with. They're going to check as to whether it's hit the goalpost.
How did he not see it? He was standing right there.
There's no way known he can't give a good decision there.
Unless about a foot away, wasn't he?
Well, unless that ball has hit the back of the post. I don't know whether the back of the post counts.
It does.
It does, yeah. It flicked his
flags,
The
maybe?
flags, yeah, that stick out. Gosh, who knows?
Well, we've already had an issue with the flat being off the back of the post.
For the gather round advertising.
Gather round advertising.
It is. Isn't that what the
No,
signs?
that's exactly what it is. It was the flat wasn't properly connected on
flag. Oh,
Thursday.
there's a Snicko. There's a little spike on Snicko. Mark Murphy, where are you when we need you? He said he's never seen a Snicko 2 weeks ago, and we've seen about 7 since.
Was it Rampy on Thursday night? I think it was.
It's a behind.
No, it couldn't have been Rampy.
Who was it? Trying to remember. Oh, of course, because I'm saying I'm desperately trying to remember who it was.
With a flap up on the, right up on the top,
Who was that?
Collingwood by 25 points, 25 minutes into this final term.
Seems a long time ago. Long beyond defensive 50.
Jake Lloyd, yeah.
Who was it?
Was it Jake Lloyd? He came down from half-back.
I'm scratching now. 10-10-70 to 6-9-45 as the kick has gone short here from Myercheck to Josh Dacos. It's funny, I can remember it hitting the flap. I can't remember who kicked it, as Nick Dacos then goes back inside to Moore, who's been immense tonight. The Collingwood chant you can hear in Adelaide. They've arrived in big numbers to Maynard down the outer side. Chance now just to slow things up as Crisp says let's all settle down, and then he'll pop it short to Noble. Noble marking on centre wing.
This will be a great win, no matter how you cut it up. Whether they've had a virus or not, they've had players go down. We know there's players out. It's a plucky Saints side. This is a really experienced professional win from a top-quality team.
Marshall takes the defensive mark for the Saints. Goes short with his kick. Away to Ross. Now Hill receives the handball. Off to Clark. Floats the handball to Crouch. Tries to slap it on to Gresham. Handball away to Burns. Now gets it on to Wanganeen Millera. Woods running forward of the wing. Receives the mark. Looks short inside 50. Oh, Higgins can't mark. But he'll get a free kick. Maynard, the offending party, according to the umpire.
Jake Lloyd, by the way. Corbin Middlemath just sent us a text.
Good on you, Bawley.
Jake Lloyd.
Yes.
Thank you, Corbs.
Full marks for you, Bawley.
Thank you, Corbs.
That's what Bawley said. Bawley said it was Jake Lloyd.
Oh, well, I'm just making sure that he actually
Thanks for confirming.
Thanks for confirming, Corbin.
Let's just let the record show that Corby's not. Final word in all things as Higgins comes in. His drop punt is pure. A couple for him. You'd think too little, too late. But we'll see. 19 points, 10-10-70 plays 7-9-51. Liz Walsh.
Yeah, when Nathan Murphy came from the ground just then, he's gone down into the rooms to be checked over by the doctors, but he had some very choice words and some strong pointing towards the St Kilda bench, so something certainly went on behind play there.
Oh, yeah, just having a look at it now, Anthony Caminiti is behind the play.
What's he done, Bawley?
Well, there was a collision. Yes, he's not happy at all, and he's was essentially decked him. So he'll have something to answer to there. The youngster from the Saints, I think.
Wow.
It didn't seem like a lot of malice in it. They were jostling as the ball was on its way down, but anything behind the play and you're probably in a bit of trouble.
As you should be. Marshall winning it down. Comes to Crouch for the Saints. Umpire spotted a free kick. I'll move it on quickly here. Crouch inside forward 50. Flying mark off at the back. It spilled down to Ross. Handed it out towards Butler. Tried to tap it to his own advantage. Sat up there for Wood. Wheels around. Puts it on the left. Goes long towards full forward. It's missing left. Waynor happy to see it through for another minor score. 10-10-70 to 7-10-52. The Magpies lead is 18 points. What have we gone? 29 minutes in the final term.
So Noble with the kick in. Goes towards left half back. Marshall coming in from the side. A strong grab. Gets it back for the Saints. He'll set it up towards full forward. Looking for a marker. Comes down for Filippo. Handball over the top. Dribbled through. Beautifully by Burns. Well. Back to 2 goals. 29 minutes played in this final term. Collingwood 10-10-70. St Kilda 8-10-58. here on Grandstand AFL.
Well, I'm going to throw caution to the wind. That's what they did out of the last centre bounce here. The Saints, nothing to lose. Maybe that, what are we, 29 minutes? Maybe that virus has finally got them, Benny. 29 minutes into that last quarter, and it'll disappoint Craig McRae. They want to play the game out here. We did say the Saints will keep running. That's been a feature of their first 4 weeks, so full credit to them. You feel like they're going to potentially run out of time, but who knows? Quick one here out of the centre bounce, and it's game on.
12 points the difference. 30 minutes gone, final term. Collingwood still in front, and Frampton wins an important tap, but the ball be surrounded by Saints. Sinclair gives it off to Clark from the logo, outer wing, kicks towards left half forward. Quaynor got there, picked up though by St Kilda. They'll charge inside. It comes towards Crouch, he kicks on goal. Oh, Brad Crouch! He's given us the grandstand finish. With about a minute to play, there's one goal in it. St Kilda are storming home. Saints alive. It's 10-10-70 Collingwood to St Kilda 9-10-64. It's just the sort of finish that Gather Round deserved.
Well, I can't believe you, Bally. You've picked this a couple of minutes ago. I'm thinking he's mad. You know, Senham and those blokes have taken a few heavy knocks in the middle, but you're spot on. That's and you know you can't protect it. The coach has to sit on his hands. 6-6-6. Why wouldn't the winger? Well, that's where the winger is. Now watch where this Collingwood wingers are smart. They've been told to get back, and they'll just dive straight in behind the line.
The ruckman's got to keep it in tight, though. They went back, and Frampton belted it out into space for St Kilda.
These two teams know about draws. Can St Kilda find a goal and level the scores? Here we go. Out of the middle. Sinclair kicks inside 50. Bobbing up Maynard marks.
Still time.
Ross Lyon laughs. He wasn't the last time. It's safe to say he goes backwards to the back pocket, and the mark is taken by Crisp. Crisp kicks long. Howard goes up. Howard juggles the mark. One last chance for the Saints.
He'll wheel around from 70 out. Kicks to the hot spot. They fly from everywhere. Spills down. Trying to get it away. It comes back into play. The Saints looking desperately for anything more over the top of the football. Has it been locked in? The umpire says yes. Well, Owens was desperately trying to find a way out. Kevin Needy was in there as well.
Don't give away a free kick in the ruck.
Throwing up in the ruck. The Magpies hang on to win by 6 points. The Saints are beaten for the first time in 2023. What a way to finish a sensational weekend in Adelaide. The Magpies by 6 points, 10-10-70 to 9-10-64.
They know how to play the game. Side by side they stick together to uphold the Magpies' name. See the barricades are shouting as all barricades show. Oh, the premiership's a cakewalk for the good old Collingwood.
It was tight at every change. Scores were level at the opening term. Collingwood led by 1 at half-time. They'd stretched that margin out to a goal by three-quarter time, and that's how it stayed, despite a late surge by the Saints. Collingwood, they get their 4th win of the season. They bounce back after last week's loss. They head into Anzac Day as winners.
Good old Collingwood forever. They know how to play the game. Side by side they stick together to uphold the Magpies' name. See the barricades are shouting as all barricades should. Oh, the premiership's a cakewalk for the good old Collingwood.
What a finish. The Magpies. Dacos of the Nick variety with 42 disposals. Josh with 30. They hang on by a goal. On Grandstand AFL, the goal kickers look like this. Bobby Hill kicked 3. Brody Mychek with 2. And then singles to Elliott, to Mitchell, to McCreary, to Gitterman and to Johnson. While for St Kilda, 2 to Higgins, 2 to Caminiti, 2 to Crouch, 1 to Filippo, 1 to Burns, 1 to Clark. They were so close, the Saints. In the end, though, it's the Magpies who salutes. Huge crowd to wrap things up, but gather around 43,796. They would have loved that final term. Collingwood fans for surviving it. St Kilda fans for getting close. The neutrals for just what was some sort of contest. Mick Malthouse, Luke Ball, talk us through it.
Well, last quarter, Bally, 3-6 to 4th straight. It was almost a complete reversal of what we saw in the third quarter, where the Pies absolutely dominated the inside 50s. It was, I'm just trying to go through my figures here, but I think it was not, I'll go again, 20-7, I think it was. And yet in the last quarter, if I can find them here, it was 17-11. So you'd look at that and you think, why did they wait? All of a sudden the ruck started, Marshall got well and truly on top. Stoppages. So I look at Crouch and think, yeah, he's a good player, but... And then I look at when the pressure was right on, he kicked the football. He kicked the goal. He won a lot of the hard...
He had a good day.
Whatever he had in the last quarter.
Yeah.
But what he did do was... Look, I get a little bit critical when you start to push the ball across into a player who's going to be under more pressure. But he was one of the catalysts. He was one of the reasons why they got back. Nick Dacos is 42. They're beautiful. But I'm just wondering, was he best on the ground because of 42? Was Crouch one of the best there? Was Wilkie the best because of his intercepts? The game was, as I said, I think at three-quarter time, there was almost a mirror there. 2 key backs were dominant. Marshall was probably the best, certainly the best ruckman at the end of it. But the midfield all of a sudden started to mix in between, because what we had domination, nothing. Domination from the opposition, nothing. And in the end, really was St Kilda's ability to clear the ball that got them into positions where they couldn't get in the third quarter, where Collingwood did. So, I mean, that was even a contrast. I thought the running was almost identical out of the back line. The difference probably was that when Collingwood went forward, it looked like they were going to score, even though the back line of St Kilda held up. Whereas the Saints, who was going to kick 3 or 4 goals? Now, no one's kicked 3 or 4 goals for the game. There's only been, as Clint said, there's only a couple of... Bobby Hill kicked 3. I really do think it was a flattering result. I don't think there's a massive difference between the two sides, but one goal was probably a little bit flattering for the Saints overall, outside that last 5 or 6 minutes when there was a mad rush and they were able to score those goals.
Through caution of the wind a bit, didn't they? And we said they kept... I mean, they're building a brand, but they kept running.
They kept running. Really, that's probably it. It was a hard run. That's
elite runner.
Yeah.
Wood was strong late, elite runner. Hill was involved late. Sinclair. So that's what they will do. So they're going to be hard to beat, regardless of... Okay, so they've got some work to do on, with ball in hand, clearly, and their efficiency was down today. They turned the ball over a lot. We know they're waiting. They'll be counting down the weeks till they get Max King back. I think memory comes back into the team. Mitch Owens found it a lot harder today against that Collingwood defence.
Who would you drop out of that side, though?
Well, I think Caminiti's the obvious one. And it's more...
He might be having a spell anyway.
Yeah, exactly. He's young. So him and Owens for say, memory and King eventually.
Yeah.
That's the obvious one, I think. Because other than that, they're quite healthy. They've got a really good...
Jack Steele will come back in.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
But you've got to remember,
Dugowie,
who's been a very good player this year.
And
they missed him today.
Yeah, and Cameron and basically McStay. I mean, they were apart from more...
McStay's done a lot, though.
But he would have competed in the air a bit better, I think. He would have made Wilkie and Howard and Battle a little bit more honest in the air, and they were able to really dominate early.
Saints are really good in there. Those 3 players... I was surprised that Battle started on the bench, but I know there's a rotation system like that, but I thought that their key backs, the Saints' key backs, they'll match it with most... The big test will be when you come against Cameron Cameron, Hawkins, Mackay.
Next week. So next week they go Carlton. They've got Mackay and Curnow next week. So that'll be a really good test for them. Another really good test on the rebound too. After they were really disappointing on Thursday
and
night.
The middle. Look, you look the Brownlow medalists against who they've got there. Seb Ross on the half back line is interesting. He can hearts in your mouth a lot when he's got the football. Not because he doesn't use it. It's because he's speed. He still thinks he's in the middle and just makes things stop a little bit. He's a bit Pendlebury in some respects. Overall, I think, Clint, you called it. What a finish for a wonderful round of football. It kept us all up watching. But at the end of the day, that could have been construed as holding the ball in that last one. That would have been a shot from 10, 15 metres out, and that would have been a draw. Wouldn't it? I mean, the umpire, I know the umpires don't pick and choose there, but that could have easily been. I mean, all the Saints' arms went up at once, so you know full well that a Collingwood player's got hold of it and not getting rid of it.
So they're led by, I've got 26 points at the 19-minute mark. Hang on, Bully, just give me half a second here. I'll try to just see if his computer's...
I had them out by...
27 points?
I had them out by as much as 30 when Elliott kicked the goal.
Okay.
I could have that wrong. My mental maths is a bit iffy, but I thought when Elliott kicked the goal, it was 10-10-70 to 6-4-40 at that point in time.
Doesn't quite set up the same way that I had. Biggest lead of the night, 26 points at the 18-minute mark of the final term. So I was... Sorry, the 19-minute mark of the final term. So, I was correct on that front. But, yes. But
those goals come late, didn't they?
We're about to enter time on, and they're up by 26, the Magpies. And St Kilda, what a rush. They kicked the last 3 goals.
In a rush.
And I guess if you're a Saints supporter, the one thing you would say is, I think you touched on, Luke, is the ability to flick the switch. So maybe they need to do that a bit more often, but they had the ability to flick the switch.
Yeah, well, we're used to Collingwood, their experience, being able to handle those situations. We saw it a lot last year. They won a lot of close games. They had them a bit rattled. They really did. They could get their hands on the footy. We're used to them chipping it around, running the clock down. They weren't able to do that. They had to give in that last play. Crisp kicks it long to a 2-on-1, straight to Dougal Howard, who pumps it back in. So in the end, they get away with it potentially. I still think it's a really good effort, given everything that surrounded the game tonight.
Let's go into the Magpie rooms. Liz Walsh is down there. Liz.
Hello. Darcy Moore's just led them in off the ground. He's got 2 arms, fist pumping. They're extremely happy. I'm actually standing next to the 2 boys who've done every game of this. They've called it the Gather Round Marathon. So they've just been saying hello to some of the players there as they all get together. Actually, I have to say, these 2 marathon runners said they've had an excellent time here in Adelaide, which is fabulous. So we're just waiting for the last of the players to come together, and they'll sing this song with a tight 6-point win, very tighter than expected. And here we go.
Is there a roof on here or what? Lift it off. See the barricades shouting as all barricades show. Oh, the premiership's a game for the good old Collingwood.
And there you go. If you heard that, they were wanting to blow the roof off this place. We'll be back soon. We're hoping to speak with Josh Dacos.
Oleg Markov, the man with the best moustache in the competition, in the middle at the start after being a Tiger, and then up on the Gold Coast, his first win. It's a chance to stand in the middle of the Collingwood song. Collingwood by 6 points, 10-10-70 to St Kilda, 9-10-64. Magpies by 6 points. The big issue for Collingwood, we've touched on it throughout the game, but I want to get both of your thoughts on it. What impact will it have, particularly up against the Bombers, because there are a few bigger games in the home and away season, possibly none bigger than Anzac Day in the home and away season. So they're without, you would imagine, another tall, with McStay going out with a tendon injury in the finger. So no Cameron, we already know, with a knee from 5 to 7. Mason Cox is a TBC with a hematoma. We don't know when he'll be back. How much of an impact could that have for Collingwood from here on? Or do you think that they've got the ability to just deal with it?
Clint, I'm going to ask a question your question, and I'm going to answer with a question. Did I see an Essendon player could be up on a
merit?
Well, that's see.
Been offered a week,
I thought he's been offered a week.
Yeah.
See, to me, you get away with ruckman. I know. Look, I absolutely think you've got to have a good ruckman. There's no doubt. But I reckon if you know you haven't got the ruckman, then you will do all the things that Collingwood did today to try to clear it, make sure that you've got your players in the right position, and you've got to have the right players. But if you said to me, we're going to lose McStay, we're going to lose Merritt, Merritt's a 30-plus possession player that Collingwood have to deal with.
Yeah, and he's the captain, obviously.
And he's the captain, and he's really... So I'm thinking that they can get away with that. They'll get away with Frampton. But the other thing is, too, which is very interesting, when you analyse... I thought that Melbourne with Grundy would beat Essendon with Draper. Draper he's like a big pup. He just does not know how to stop. He just at you all day, kicks 3 goals.
Very athletic.
So
yeah,
Collingwood won't find... Look, Marshall's a very aggressive ruckman, but when you've got Draper, I reckon it's almost worth Frampton tagging him. And I mean all over the ground, because that's where Draper does a lot of damage and running around the ground. Doesn't even know he's got the ball.
I thought Frampton showed himself to be a better option than even a healthy McStay today. I was really impressed with his game.
Yeah.
I was about to say that in terms of that last quarter, and he was up against Marshall, who had 7 disposals more than anyone else. But in the centre, Frampton with 13 hit out.
Yeah, I was impressed. I thought he, as I said, he's the option until the cavalry come. But it's an issue. One of the stories yesterday was the double team of Grundy of the 2 Essendon players, and they were 2 of their best 5 players. So that's they might be able to keep finding a way, but clearly it's not sustainable as the year goes on. They're going to have to, obviously get those guys back.
Oh, they'll get them back. You just got you do have to make up. I mean, it's one of the joys of coaching. Honestly, there's a lot of things that there's negatives in coaching, but one of the joys in coaching is trying to find something that's going to work when you haven't got the player to work with. Okay, so you're ruckman down. What do? Well, clearly, if you hang your head and sook it, that's not the solution. You've got to look at it and go, okay, well, we might get our hand to it. In this case, he got his hand to it a few times. Where do you position yourself?
Yep.
And it's a bit like, so your call in regard to get the ball in that forward line, don't keep kicking it to Wilkie, get it in there on some other way. So that's a method. And that's what you've got to... And Paulie, most of your football was played in the middle, and not always to a winning ruckman. So you have to change. Or you're saying, we did have a winning ruckman, like, say, Darren Jolly at the time.
Yes.
Okay, but don't let them get into position to take it away from us. So it's the joys of coaching is to get your group together and say, okay, how are we going to manage this? Because after all, at the end of the day, when they run down the race, they being the players, have got to have the mindset, we can get away with it at ruckman, or we get away without this, or whatever the case is. There's no doubt in my mind the Saints, and Ross Lyon deserves a credit here, with all those injuries, he's made them believe that they can win with that forward line. Now, up till today, their loss is only by 1 goal, and they've won the other 4 games. So that's all you do is it's positive reinforcement.
Just speaking about the rucks, I heard an expert say recently, I can't place exactly who, that it's great when you know you're either going to win the ruck tap or you're going to lose it. Yep. It's the grey area in the middle that's the real difficult one when you're a midfielder, Bally.
Yeah, well, that's right. And good midfielders do make that adjustment. I thought they did early. Yeah, and you think about, Tom Mitchell's as good a clearance player as has been in the last 10 years, really. And Adams, I thought, was good early, and Pendlebury. So sometimes, early days, St Kilda, we had a coach who didn't rate ruck. We had a 6'2" Jason Blake in the ruck. So sometimes you're better off reading the opposition ruckman and using your opponent as a reference point.
Let's go back to the rooms. Liz Walsh.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Josh Dacos. Josh, might have been a bit scrappy at times, but wow, what a win.
It was. It was, a really quick game. They brought the heat, so did we, and that made for a bit of a scrappy game, but in the end, we pulled away there, but then, luckily it came through at the end. It started to get a bit nerve-wracking.
You've defeated the only remaining undefeated team of season 2023. What do you think that tells us about Collingwood this year?
Not a lot. It's very early in the year. Obviously, it's a great sign. Obviously, we're doing a lot right. 4-1 now, so next week will be a really big game, and we're really happy with how we're progressing. Really from the end of last year, so it looks like we've continued our form from late last year, brought it to this year, and then hopefully keep it up and keep improving as a team.
You and Nick had 72 touches between you tonight. Massive games from the both of you. What do you love about playing with your brother?
It's good when we combine because when we combine our disposals, because obviously Nick gets a lot of the ball, so he obviously bumps that number up. It's great. I love playing with my brother. We both love playing for Collingwood. It's something we've dreamed about for all these years, and obviously year 2 together now together. So it's been so good. And obviously Nick, I always told him going up how hard football was and everything. He must have been thinking that I was talking a bit of crap, because obviously he started really well and he's loving his football right now.
That's great. Let's head up to our experts in Mick Malthouse and Luke Ball.
Josh, it's Luke Ball, well done tonight. We're just talking before you came on about some of the interesting tactical battles tonight and starting in the centre bounce. I thought Billy Frampton really acquitted himself well. We probably thought that Dan McStay would do the lion's share of the ruck, and obviously then he was subbed off, so it really forced Billy to do a lot of the work against what we think's one of the premier ruckmen in the competition. Tell us about, you spending some time in the middle now as well, tell us about how you adjust as a midfield group underneath that.
For sure, Luke. Billy was super tonight. He didn't have much time to learn a lot of what we do, what his role entailed, and he was awesome tonight competing against Rowan Marshall, like you said. One of the best rucks in the league. But we played it really simple. Sometimes it can be a good thing because it means the opposition can get a little bit too confident, get on the move too quick, which means we can swoop in on the loose ball. But I thought early they probably got us on the outside a little bit. We're getting sucked in, but towards the end we held good shape and we were able to go from there. And just aerially across the ground, I thought for large parts of the game, both teams' tall defenders really controlled the game, were dominant, and we know how good Wilkie and Josh Battle are in terms of their intercept mark. Was there any chat at any of the breaks, in particular three-quarter time, around your ball use going inside 50 to potentially or circumvent or work a way to get around these guys that were going so well in the air? Yeah, there was. We probably adjusted halfway through the second, started to go a little bit more offline with our ball movement rather than going straight towards goal, where, like you said, Wilkie and a few of their other interceptors were getting really dominant. We lost Dan pretty early, so we lost our key position player ahead of the ball, so it made it a little bit tougher. So we tried to, even if we got scrappy kicks in there, it was a good thing. Let our smalls like Bobby Hill and Guinea go to work.
Josh, congratulations, mate. It's just a pleasure to watch you play. I'm not going to start talking about your brother. I think it's sometimes the gloss is taken off because of brothers playing together. So your roles have been outstanding. Can you tell us a little bit about Jordan Agoe? Was it a virus or something that stopped him from playing? Obviously, I thank you, Mick, first and foremost. But with Geordie, he was feeling great. Obviously, we came up here Friday, so he got through all of training, captain's run yesterday, and I think he was feeling a little bit unwell early this morning. Tried everything he could to get up for the game, but obviously, in no shape to get up for it. So we had someone come in and they did great. And also, Josh, there's a rumour going around that others had some of that virus or had the virus. Would that be fair that other players weren't exactly 100%, or is that just gossip?
No, it's not something we spoke about. We're all good to go. Geordie was unfortunately got a little bit the worst of it, but we're all ready to go, and we all felt fit and ready.
So what's the procedure between now and the end for Anzac Day? What's the go?
Obviously, day off tomorrow, fly back to Melbourne tonight.
Okay.
Review Monday, and then got a full week of training. Get the legs ticking over, get a few Ks into them early in the week. And then, I think following Tuesday, we've got the Dons, which should shape up to be a huge game now. They're going really well and had a great win yesterday, so we're looking forward to taking them on and seeing where we're at.
Josh, you've been there before on this massive home and away stage, Anzac Day. How important is the game to you? How big a game is it? Tell us a bit more about what it means to Josh Dacos.
Huge significance. I've been lucky enough a few times to run out there, and you really do have to take it all in. I love it. I love everything that goes into the day, the build-up. We walk over as a group, and you can just feel the electricity in the air. And it's definitely one that going into the year, you always circle, and you always know that this will be a huge game. And no matter how us or the Dons are going, it's always a big turnout. So it's an absolute honour to play on the day, and I can't wait. Overall, how did you enjoy Gather Round? Yeah, great. The streets were busy. It was tough to get an almond latte in the morning. The cafes were packed. But no, it was a great buzz. In the city of Adelaide, and hopefully they can keep it again next year. We really enjoyed it as a playing group to get up here a couple of days earlier, and then to see all the fans and all the colours, and obviously the turnout to games was awesome.
You were doing the warm-up when the Premier announced that it will be here for the next 3 years, so we look forward to seeing you back here.
Oh, beautiful. There you go. I was in the zone.
Well done. Josh, congratulations on the win.
Thank you, boys. Have a great night.
Josh Dacos downstairs in the Collingwood rooms. And just repeating, if you didn't hear it at the start of the broadcast, another 3 years of Gather Round in Adelaide. So it'll be here until 2026. It was an outstanding weekend. Hopefully you got a chance to enjoy it on ABC Radio Sport Digital and the ABC Listen app. And if you didn't get a chance to come across here, do your best next year. I was blown away by how much I enjoyed it. Ben?
Totally agree. By the way, I thought it was good as well. Oh,
sorry. Not something we spoke about is yes in football speak. You should know that. The response about was there a virus? It's not something we spoke about. That's yes.
Yes, yeah. Of course it is. And in detail. And I'm comparing notes.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Well,
sorry, Betty.
Yeah, I was just about to say it was good that he confirmed the virus through the...
Oh, look, you just pat yourself. You'll dislocate your shoulders by patting yourself on the back like that.
It finally got him at the 29-minute mark of the last quarter.
It did. We saw it coming a long way out. Right at...
Yeah, that was those 3 goals in those 5 minutes.
3 quarters and 29 minutes ago.
You're full of that sausage feeding. The
bratwurst.
It's amazing the symptoms of viruses can see you break out in 3 goals in 5 minutes against you.
Just a quick one as well, the Caminiti incident. So I had to go back and find the replay. So in-back players, as Borley alluded to, and they're sort of jostling, and it's almost a short-arm jab on the left from Caminiti that hits.
I thought it was hip and shoulder. Yeah, okay.
I could be wrong. It's sort of it's hard to tell because you're slightly obscured, but
it's not a jumper punch.
It's not a jumper punch. It's some kind of free striking motion. You couldn't. I don't think you could argue it was a push.
Well, remember he's in the spotlight.
Right? Regardless, I think he's decked him, and that's a bit of a story too. Because Murphy's got a history of concussion. If he has to go into protocols, he'd be massive out next week as well. Hopefully not. Hopefully he's okay. But he looked groggy, didn't he?
And then that was why. He was quite agitated down on the bench. Came off and pointed over in their direction.
Yeah, well, that's interesting you say that, Paulie, because I don't know how that now works. Because I guess by coming off, because he has come off the ground and they've got to do that testing. That's because it's
they can test him and they can say downstairs that he's okay. And
but you wouldn't expect that from doctors these days. I mean, if they'll judge that way it should be because there's that much stuff happening with it.
But if they clear him, then
he's clear.
No issue.
Oh, yeah.
But my other issue, I think in that case, Caminiti's that will be possibly sent even straight to the. If that's a strike rather than a high push, then that I would imagine could almost be sent straight to the tribunal. But they are absolutely desperate to wipe out punching, as we remember from a couple of years ago, and particularly off the ball incidents like that.
So what I would say is Murphy was down face down for a long time. So.
Yep,
he's made contact then.
If you're contact. If he's not at least a little buzzed, he comes around a little quicker. I was watching him the whole time, and he was down. I reckon at least 6 Mississippis while I was counting.
So you've lagged him in.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to. I don't want to dob on him.
Well, you have. You've got him. No, you've really done.
I want to look after his welfare.
Well, you're spot on. Look, the whole world saw it. Benny, I mean, at the end of the day, he was laying on the ground, so he just didn't faint.
What have we spotted down here,
just
Luke?
interesting.
It looks like my guess is that this is probably the AFL staff out there, all having a kick, and they had a big photo before in front of the gather round sign, which is fair enough. There's obviously a lot that goes in behind the scenes to put together a weekend of footy like this. So
actually, interesting. I spotted Andrew Dillon amongst that photo as well. So
what do you make of that?
Oh,
I'm just throwing it out there.
Probably one for the
no editorial comment on that.
He's still out there, Andrew Dillon, just wandering around and enjoying what they've achieved.
So will he be the next boss? That's the question we all ask. Bill McLaughlin, of course, happy to be involved in the announcement today that Gather Round will continue for another 3 seasons here in Adelaide. The game that we saw had the grandstand finish to wrap up the round. Collingwood 10-10-70 to St Kilda 9-10-64 in front of a crowd of 43,796. 6-point win to the Magpies. They leap up into third on the ladder. The Saints might have lost their first game of the year, but they will remain on top. All the other numbers, Ben Cameron, have a look for us.
Nick Dacos, boy, he can find the footy. 42 disposals, 27 kicks, 7 marks, 848 metres gained. It's good going, that. Josh Dacos, his brother, with 30. He was the second best of the Pies. While for St Kilda, Brad Crouch with 33, Jack Sinclair with 27. He's been in great form for a number of years now. Then some of the other broad numbers, just looking at those. Overall, St Kilda had a little bit more of the 408 to 392 disposals. In terms of the inside 50s, Collingwood 64 to St Kilda's 50. The marks inside 50s, 10 to 8 the way of Collingwood. Contested possessions, 147 to 126. The clearances, that was the way of St Kilda. The clearances, 37 to 31, also the way of the Saints.
It's going to wrap things up this round. Geelong today by 47 points over the West Coast Eagles. GWS by 2 points over Hawthorn. And then Collingwood by 6 points. St Kilda came home with a real rush. They kicked 3 goals in the last 5 minutes to put a real scare amongst the Magpies, but they hung on to give the Saints their first loss of the year. Collingwood by 6 points. Gather round. We've been here for all of it. Highlights, things that stand out, anything that taking a step backwards, perhaps Adelaide might do better next time. I'm an enormous rap for everything they've done. The one thing I think perhaps, as successful as the double headers have been, with more, I guess, another year around, I wonder if they might think about breaking up the 2 games here at Adelaide Oval. And rather than having them as a double header and back-to-back, you could have an early game, then a game, say, at Norwood or at Mount Barker on the Saturday, and then come back here for a night game. I think that would actually give you a really good indication of what sort of interest level there is. We had 43,000 in here tonight. That was for the 2 games.
It'll be over 220,000 for the entire weekend, they're saying.
Which is fantastic. So if you want to push it again, if you split these games in 2, and that gives you, 3 and a bit hours to separate, get people out, get more people back in, give it a slight clean. I'm wondering whether or not that would be the next step forward. But other than that, and that's just I wonder if, not a criticism, everything else they did here. Norwood was spectacular. They got 2 great games there as well. Benny, you were at Mount Barker. I know you were.
My highlight was Harndorf and getting out to Mount Barker. I learned a lot about the German history of Harndorf, didn't I, Mick?
Yes.
We had our beautiful bratwurst. They've got a lot of airtime, the bratwurst, over the weekend.
Speaking of air.
Speaking of air.
Didn't go too well after it, the car ride with
the old sauerkraut.
Nick Shoulders, But
I thought that was outstanding. I described it on the broadcast as the AFL's Field of Dreams moment, rather than a cornfield in Iowa or it was a cow paddock in rural South Australia, but it was awesome.
I thought you were going to be in the box next door, Luke, if you continued down that path. That's normally what takes place over there.
Can I just jump in there? And look, I'm a big push for the bush, as you know. I would hope there's another game up at Mount Barker because I reckon those people did such a marvellous job. That ground is outstanding. This ground here, let me tell you, this ground, the number of games played on this you could play another half dozen games on it. It's just fantastic. And they're talking, this was talk behind the scenes, maybe one in Barossa.
Yep.
Now,
we've put our hand up for that, haven't we, Mick?
We have. Now, I would like to think that, again, we might be, let's not be crowd-centric on breaking records. Let's see if we can make it one up there, one at Mount Barker, whether Norwood's the other ground, I don't know.
I'd love to go back to Norwood openly.
Okay, well, let's say there's 3, and so there's only 5 games here. I reckon you could split that thing you're talking about.
Have the 2 on the Saturday.
Yep, and I can't fault it. The reason why I can't fault it, there's one thing that I will not know until the end of the year. The more games you play, the tighter you get, and the game starts to, it takes its toll on young and old, and if there's any injuries. A 23rd game, I don't know whether they can make it just 22, and this becomes one of those rounds. Of course, by then you're denying members and all that sort of stuff. So I understand there's going to be a lot to play, but I would still stick to 22, and this is one of the rounds. But I don't know how that works. With membership.
I wouldn't be happy about that if I was a member at another club. And that's how this has been able to be sold. It's an extra round. You don't lose out on anything. You keep
I understand that. I'm looking at the players' point of view, though, because they'll put their hand out because they get paid extra for this and all that sort of stuff. But I'm wondering what the quality's like at the end of the season.
So I'll throw one more at you. Luke Ball, give you first chance to have a crack at this. And then, Mick, the point about with it being played in Adelaide, and on the record, by the way, I don't have an issue with this, but with it being played in Adelaide, Port and Adelaide technically get another home game. Is that something anyone should be worried about? Or is it just, let's just deal with it?
So, will they play 12 home games effectively this year? Okay, yeah. I think it's just an unintended consequence of the... I think...
Richmond play 17 games at the MCG each and every year.
What happened in Brisbane?
Absolutely right. And Collingwood for so long played 17. And it's no one's fault because all the teams are in Melbourne. The difference being, though, they actually are almost like a home game when they come here.
Yeah.
I actually think it's great. I couldn't believe some of the people yesterday, and this was, all from Victorians, but when I come to a Port Adelaide game, be it on Gather Round or not, I want to experience the Port Adelaide, never tear us apart. So to say, well, you can't have that because it's not your home ground. Really? That's one of the reasons you want to come to a Port game.
We need to reward ingenuity broadly. And Malinowskis and the South Australian government have been willing to put their hands in their pocket, take a risk, and if their footy clubs benefit as a result of that, I think that's a little bit of, luck being the residue of design in some ways.
It'll be better again next year too. I heard him talk this morning. They really had relatively limited time to prepare for it. They had 4 months. So with another 12 months, and other clubs now will start to plan for it, knowing that it's here now, so they'll be able to plan activations. And if there's a Barossa game, there's going to have to be an increased spend on infrastructure and all that sort of stuff. So another 12 months down the time, it'll be even better again.
I'm just thinking as well, Mick. I think probably a little too far for us to drive there and back in one day. We probably need an overnight stay in the Barossa.
Well, you've got the boss behind you. You just go for it.
Are you there, Tim? Hadn't seen you.
Well, I'll just add on to that, Paulie, what you're saying. I reckon when people view this from afar, they're going to say, no, we wouldn't be part of this. So we'll now save up, or we'll drive across, or we'll get that caravan, or we'll catch the train, or whatever the case is. I can see this actually. I don't know about third and fourth year, but the second year, because it's such a we've already sampled it, and look, if anyone complains about it, I don't know, they must be just misery guts. Honestly, it's just been fantastic. So this has been fantastic.
No, I agree. What I would say, as early as the AFL can, even if you can't sort out the round, lock in the weekend. Lock in the weekend date.
Yeah.
So if we have to, whether it's round 4, round 5, round 6, whatever, but say Gather Round is going to be in this weekend, people can then, whether they're from WA or Victoria, wherever, can put some money aside, can lock that off, can get permission from either your wife or your husband to come across and watch the footy.
Take them.
And, well, sometimes my darling wife, bless her, hello, Mel, if you're listening, zero interest. I'll bring the kids.
Can I just say as well, I think an underrated element of it as well is almost the reward and recognition that it gives South Australian football.
Yep.
So, as someone who grew up in WA, I'm now a proud card-carrying Victorian, the big V on my chest, but...
Your nose is growing.
I think...
You were going to turn Pinocchio.
There is great history in WA football, in South Australian football, and we've seen that recognised in an appropriate fashion, I think, in the last week in a way that we may not have had we not gathered here for this round this weekend.
I just don't see any downside. It's just been a fantastic experience. And the kids over the river there with all those activities and being part of it, and people wearing their colours. No, the restauranteurs are all very, very happy.
Mick, Luke, outstanding. Thank you very much.
Do you want Luke to do the votes?
Quickly the votes.
I want the votes from Luke.
Okay, Mick Campbell, I'm over to me.
Mate.
Well, it's interesting because Collingwood win the game, obviously, and tied at the end, but he felt like they were in control. But we're going to give one vote to Brad Crouch for 33 possessions, 16 contested, 9 clearances, 10 inside 50s and 2 goals. It's a pretty good game as a midfielder. You're right, a couple of times he overused it a bit and wasn't as effective as he could have been, but I thought he was pretty good. He's terrific.
Got him back.
Yeah, he did. And ran the game out, didn't he, and gave them a chance to win. Two votes to Nick Dacos. He just unbelievable young player, isn't he? 42 possessions. And look, yes, a lot of them are uncontested and he takes the kick-outs, but every one of them does something. And when he gets the ball, and it was a scrappy game, let's be honest, something usually happens.
Yeah, so 76%, was it? 76% efficiency rate, which is really high.
Over 42, that's good going, isn't it?
Yeah,
and all those metres gained. And we're going to give 3 to Callum Wilkie in a losing team. I just thought he was unbelievable back there. And in the end, we were talking about ways to score, to get around him, weren't we?
Yeah, even they admitted
we heard
that.
Josh talking about it then. So, and he had some help down there. Josh Battle was terrific. He took 13 marks, and Howard had his moments, but I just thought Callum Wilkie, the acting skipper, had 24 possessions, 11 marks. I just thought he was
and going at 92%, Bally.
Yeah. So some good players. You know, either Josh Dacos was terrific. Tom Mitchell was solid, side bottom. He used his experience at times.
Sinclair was good.
And Moore, obviously, and Noble across halfback for Collingwood. But for them, it was more of an even spread. No real standouts. And probably that weight of numbers was the difference in here.
I like what you've done there, Bally, and I agree with you for what it's worth. Not much, but I'll be really intrigued to see whether he gets the 3 on Brownlow Medal night, given
coaches vote.
Key defender. I think the coaches' vote's far more likely to replicate yours. But
who was the last Brownlow medalist from Key defender?
I reckon the last defender to win the Brownlow Medal won it under you.
No, would Gavin Wanganeen be the last defender?
Yeah.
Oh, no, Brett Hardy.
Brett
Hardy was before that. No, Brett Hardy was 85.
Yes, he was.
Wanganeen would have been 90, probably 90, was he?
No,
before that.
No, later than that. 93.
Well, so there has been a couple. But
they're a long time ago.
They are a long time ago. It's mainly midfield. And you look at the system with how many times you handle a football, and you said about Dacos kicking off. He kicked off a few times today.
By the way, Wilkie, that stat I love so much, 11 marks inside his defensive 50, which
contested too.
Contested mark.
A lot of it,
by the way, in the Rugby League, Canberra beat St George Illawarra by 20 points to 14. The Parramatta beat the Bulldogs by 26 points, 30 points to 4. Thank you very much, everyone. Ben Cameron, I know you're a Victorian when you'll start to tell me that State of Origin does include Victoria versus the Allies or the All-Stars. Until you start telling me that, I won't believe it. Thanks very much for your company. We wrap up Gather Round with these results. Geelong by 47 over the West Coast Eagles. GWS by 2 points in a thriller against the Hawks. And this was a thriller too at the end. Collingwood hung on. They led by 26 points late. They got home by 6. 10-10-70 to 9-10-64. Everything will get started again next week here on Grandstand AFL. It's a big one from